ladies and gentle Xenos, coming to you live from Rick Priestley's luxurious mansion. This is the #1 Tyranid shit show on the internet, the Creature Conference, and here is your host, Mr. Pink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am Modern Synthesist, otherwise known as Mr. Pink, your host for the Creature Conference, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Hydra, Highfleet Malak, Flynn Hammer. We've also got Darth Bob with us today, and we also have, there seems to be someone else who jumped into the chat over on Discord, and it is none other than our very special guest, Mr. Mark Gibbons. That's right, Mark Gibbons is here to chat with us about art and Warhammer and all kinds of stuff.
For this, takes you fancy.
Yeah, for this, our 100th episode of the Creature Conference. So, Mark, thank you so much for joining us. When Darth Bob suggested this, I couldn't believe it. So, yeah, welcome to the stream.
My absolute pleasure. It's an honor to be here.
Great. Yeah, so people in the chat, some people might know who our special guest was. We were being a little cagey about it. But yep, there you go. And if you're not familiar with Mark Gibbons' work, you've been living under a rock, you clearly don't do Warhammer. I have a little roll of art coming up here on the screen, over on the right here. So we're just going to go through some of the pieces, but we're also going to talk about various pieces and stuff like that, and we'll pull it up. So we've got a number of questions prepared for Mark. So why don't we... Actually, sorry, this wasn't one of our questions, Mark, but I was just realizing that as some people might be more experienced with your stuff or more aware of what you've done, and some people are less experienced, could you give us just kind of like a brief rundown of your career as an artist with many different game studios that people have heard of?
Oh, yikes. Yeah. So yeah, if you're sort of, I guess what is generally referred to as a middle hammer enthusiast, that was my kind of time at Workshop from the early 90s to the mid 90s, and then again briefly in sort of 2005 2006, and that's, I mean, I started as an artist. I dropped out of art college after 2 weeks of painted with custard and gravy because I didn't think Frank Frazetta would be doing that. So I've got off to a rocky start, I suppose, in the late 80s, mid to late 80s. But I'd been a gaming enthusiast, particularly Games Workshop and Warhammer fan from childhood, from D&D. You know, as a kid, I spent my money with Games Workshop because that's what you had to do if you wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons. And then always, as my early career, my fumbling early days started off, it was always Games Workshop was always the studio I wanted to ultimately be working with. And after, I guess, pestering them for about 18 months, sending them samples of my work, I got my first couple of freelance commissions. Funnily enough, working on the Space Hulk expansions, Deathwing and Genestealer, so drawing Tyranids from the off, really. And then I joined them full time in '92, and I was there till '97. And then the video game industry took off and appeared to be really attractive. So I went away for the best part of 20 years, I suppose, in video games. Popped back to Workshop for a second tour of duty, and then came to America to work for Blizzard, where I was for seven and a half years, and then I went to Riot for 2.5, and then went back freelance and back to tabletop, which was my first love after all, about 7 or 8 years ago. And I've been working as art director / artist / graphic designer / layout artist / co-producer at a studio called Rookery Publications, which I set up with a handful of other ex-Games Workshop alumni, making tabletop RPG and board games. So that's a really, really brief potted history. But in those intervening years, I probably worked for most tabletop miniatures companies, Privateer Press, FASA. Did I do stuff for Grenadier? I don't know. I never worked for Wizards of the Coast. I've never worked on Dungeons and Dragons. That's the one gap in my portfolio currently.
I don't know. You hear some dicey stuff from Wizards of the Coast. Maybe you dodged a bullet there, but I'm sure you've had a lot of dicey stuff working with so many studios.
There have been moments for sure. Yes.
Awesome. I just subscribed to Rookery Publications. I wasn't
Oh,
following
lovely.
them
Thank
on
you very
YouTube.
much.
I'll
Welcome
bring
aboard.
that up later. Yeah, I'll definitely bring up like your various profiles and the different like Rookery Publications and all that for folks. That was a great rundown. Thank you. We have some prepared questions that here, but also for anyone who's watching this out on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and put any questions in the chat, because Darth Bob, Shane Darth Bob is monitoring the chat, and he's going to be pulling out questions from the chat to ask. So please put any questions you have for Mark in the chat, and we will get to them. But otherwise, maybe we should launch into our questions here. And we kind of touched on this one, but Marco, do you want to go for question number 1? I think that was your question.
Yes, thank you. I'd love to. Mark, of course, I think we are all fanboy gushing about you being here tonight. And we should start at the beginning. I mean, you just hinted at it and pretty much explained already probably the core of it, but how were you introduced to the Games Workshop hobby? Back then it was much smaller. And could you tell us a bit about your history working with Warhammer?
Yeah, well, I was, I don't know, maybe 13 years of age, and a new kid started in my school who had an older brother. And his older brother had a bunch of buddies who were big tabletop gaming enthusiasts. And I remember the first time I went around this new buddy's house, his name was Alan. And in the back of the house, they had these amazing table boards, fully flocked boards, and ranks of Middle-earth miniatures. And they were playing, at the time, I think the system was called Ring Bearer, and it was like a 16 or 32 page, just a little photocopied rule book, because that's what you had back in those days. And it just blew my mind. So I became a massive fan of board games and tabletop games. And then one day, a guy turned up with a copy of Dungeons and Dragons, and everything changed at that point. And we all got our hands on that, and we all started role playing. And I remember for my, 14th birthday, my dad and I took the train up to London, to Hammersmith, to 1 Darling Road, which was the Games Workshop store. My dad left me in the shop and went over the road to the pub for 4 hours. And I spent all my birthday money. So it's, Games Workshop has always been in my life. And as an artist, I flirted with the music business for a while. I thought I wanted to be in a band. So there's a few years, again, wilderness years, where I sort of stepped away a little bit from being an artist. Then I managed to break my arm wrestling. And for 3 months, I couldn't play the bass and I couldn't draw. And I realized at the end of those 3 months, what I missed most was being able to draw. So that was my kind of road to Damascus moment. And I decided, okay, the gods have clearly dropped hints. I should be doing this. So that's what I did. I said, all right, I left the band. I had been doing a little bit of freelance work for Games Workshop at that point. I was working on the Space Hulk expansions, as I said. So I said, okay, I'm ready to commit fully. I'm ready to join you. And that was 92, and I moved up from my hometown of Cardiff up to Nottingham and began working at the studio, serving what I think was my apprenticeship, because again, I dropped out of art college. Right, I've not been a great technical artist throughout my career. It's always been a bit fumbling, but I think the quality of my work improved dramatically once I joined the studio, because I was surrounded not just by great artists, but by amazing sculptors and writers and painters, and it's just I just found that really accelerated my kind of learning and my understanding of what the industry was.
I just pulled up a picture here, Mark. It's like a Magus, a Gene Stealer Magus standing in a doorway, and then some, like, I guess they're like Grey Knights or something fighting with Gene Stealers in a hallway. Would that have been one, like, for the Space Hulk or Deathwing expansion?
If it's the Magus with the lightning,
yes,
from his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that piece took me 3 months to do, because I was halfway through it when I broke my arm.
Oh no!
So I had to wait for the arm to heal sufficiently that I could finish that piece off.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. And then I found another one of some it's like a cultist with a gun, and then there's a magus standing behind him with like a pistol, and then some gene stealers running around.
Yes. Yeah, that's the stuff I did for the Gene Stealer expansion.
Oh, it's
But I mean, what
beautiful.
an instant classic with a Magus drawing. I mean, that's one of the most, probably the most iconic drawing of a Gene Stealer Magus that's ever been done. Just at the
Agreed.
start.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I was trying to think the other day about that piece and because it's a Grey Knight with a squad of Blood Angel Terminators and the Magus, and I don't know if that was because I did that. That was again a piece that was done as freelance, and some of those pieces were just me doing what I wanted to do and sending them in and saying, "Oh, do you want to buy this?"
Cool.
And that's been such a random collection of characters. I have a feeling that might have been one of those.
Oh man, it's so good. It's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I still own that one. It's one of a handful of pieces that's in my collection I have no intention of parting with.
You mentioned before we started the stream that there's some of your pieces that you can't be in the same room as. Is that one of the few that you can still be in the same room as it?
Yeah, I don't know that I want to hang it on the wall, but I'm all right around that one.
Okay. All right. That's great. And Flynn, I think your question's next.
So I think we've missed like an important question, but I think it does lead off. It works after my one. So obviously, is that you had quite a bit of time working at Games Workshop. So what was your favorite thing about working there?
I think just the creative environment. I mean, particularly because I went back in 2005, and the studio had changed. They'd moved when I was working there the first time. It was at Castle Boulevard where the studio was based, and then the factory was out in Eastwood, which is like 5 miles outside of Nottingham. And when I went back, the two branches had become one, and it wasn't as fun. It wasn't as fun a place to work anymore. So it felt more corporate. There was still a lot of great people there, but it wasn't the wild bohemian shed that it had been when it'd been Castle Boulevard, which was awesome. Just obviously other artists, being around people like John Blanche and Wayne England and people like Jez Goodwin, but the writers as well, Rick Priestley and Nigel Stillman, just a crazy cast of characters, really sort of the people who Games Workshop probably would not hire these days because they're a bit, but back then it was just part of the joy, the beauty of the industry, because it was still very much a cottage industry despite Games Workshop's success. It still felt like a wild mob of outlaws, So
actually,
that environment was amazing.
I just realized we forgot something to do at the start of the stream. So Rick Priestley is actually one of the patron saints of this stream. Marco, do you want to explain how this came about?
Of course I can. I'm Bill Giza on this mob here. And I've been to the studio and known Rick and Andy and Jessica for quite a while. And I might have talked too much about being for lunch at Rick's house one day. And for some weird reason, we have the strange custom around here to start our stream with the question of what part of Rick Priestley's basement or house we're coming tonight.
Yeah, so Marco says he doesn't know how it happened. It's us basically making fun of Marco for how many times he told us that he'd been in Rick Priestley's basement. I mean, that's cool, but for a long time we're like, coming to you live from Rick Priestley's basement.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yes, the weirder the answer, the better it is. I'm sorry, the sphincter was taken already.
Yeah, so if you could pick a room, being someone who may have actually been to Rick Priestley's house, Mark, if you could just
I have not. I don't think I have. I don't think so.
See, see.
Neither have we. So if you could just pick a room, pick a random room, it could exist, it could not exist. We've had dumbwaiters, we've had like this spot out behind the bins. Like if you could pick a random part of Rick Priestley's house that we'd be coming to people live from today for the stream, what would you pick?
Rick Priestley's gazebo.
Nice. Is that a D&D
I have no idea if he has.
reference?
I've no idea if he has a gazebo. I've no clue. He probably does. He's the kind of guy that he lives out in the country now. He's probably got several gazebos.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so coming to people live from Rick Priestley's gazebo this week. We normally do that at the top, but we're a little flustered. So
That's
thanks.
okay. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Everybody's Googling gazebo. Oh, there we go.
So okay, that was the favorite part of working at Games Workshop. While you were working at Games Workshop, what was your favorite faction to illustrate?
I've always the more sinister side of the Warhammer universes. So I love things like the Skaven and the various forms of undead. Chaos is always fun, and anything that gives you kind of a little bit of latitude to sort of interpret, put your own spin on the stuff as well. Yeah. So anything that's a little on the darker and the spikier and the more sinister side. I would say it's probably the undead. Probably this is the fourth or fifth edition when it was just undead before it became the dry, what they call the dry and the wet undead. You know, the vampire counts and the tomb kings before it split.
Marco.
Since you sadly didn't pick Tyranids, can you tell us about the Tyranids and the Gene Stealer card?
Sorry, what was the question?
Since you sadly didn't pick Tyranids as your favorite faction to work on, can you tell us a bit about your time drawing Tyranids and the Gene Stealer card stuff?
Yeah, I do. I do enjoy the Gene Stealers and the Tyranids because again, it's a chance to draw gribbly aliens. You know, who doesn't enjoy that? It's what I mean, kind of what I always liked about because it taps into that again, another classic archetype, the sort of the alien menace. It's always really fun to kind of interpret them. And I think when you add the Gene Stealer cults or the hybrids as they were called originally, that's where you get to put your sort of individual spin on stuff. And certainly for the second edition codex, they were really fun. They were really fun to draw. I think at the time, Jez Goodwin had done a whole bunch of concepts. I don't know that we had all the miniatures ready because that's also when you come to do the illustrations for the books. Sometimes the miniatures are already done, and they give you the miniatures and say, "Go away and draw this." Sometimes you'll have concept art. Sometimes it's you have neither, and then it's kind of okay. Well, we've got to kind of work out what these characters need to look like. If it's a fundamental race like the Tyranids stuff, there's usually at the very least concepts from someone like Jez, who is the concept talent at Workshop. I think still to this day. So I can certainly recall working on the that first codex that I had a lot of Jez concept art to base things like the Hive Tyrant, because the Hive Tyrant, there was no model, I don't think, at the time, but I had Jez's beautifully rendered concept. I think it's probably the same with the Lictor and things like that as well. I think we might have got the Hormigaunt and some of the basic ones, but the bigger models I don't think had been done yet. So it's always nice to have beautiful bits of concept art to then kind of riff off.
Nice. And I'm glad you're mentioning that Hive Tyrant, because like Joel Davies in the chat says that Hive Tyrant with the Barb Strangler is my favorite image of one. Hive Tyrant. The quintessential Hive Tyrant armed with teeth, claws, and a bad attitude. And a lot of people have commented that like when they saw that Hive Tyrant sketch, they understood what the model was supposed to be. And that like it was almost like the model was like a referent for your sketch. And it's like this little metal thing here is being as badass as that dude from the picture. So, and I think Simon, you have a question that picks up from the Hive Tyrant, right?
Yeah. Before you started to work on works like your illustration of a Hive Tyrant inside a hive ship, how much creative direction would you have been given about the scene or how to illustrate the unit?
Well, as I say, Jez bunch of concepts. He has one for that. If you've got his book, the Gothic and the Eldritch, if you have that sketchbook, I think there's a Hive Tyrant in there, and then you've got pages and pages of all the various weapon designs. So you can kind of like pick and choose which bits you want to add in there. But I think there's some little gribbly creatures on the floor that were just I can riff on these. Once you understand how the various little elements of the Tyranid biomass operates, you can go, I'm going to put one of my own little creature designs in there just to kind of flesh that out. And again, the design of the ship with a little nod to Giga, because there's a little nod to Giga in all the Tyranid stuff. But then basically it's what I would do. I would just deliver a concept sketch, like a thumbnail sketch, and say, this is what I thought. Full page, yeah, we'll do that one as a full page, and then I go away and I finish the illustration. So there's not an awful lot of supervision or guidance required with most of that stuff. It's kind of pretty much you know what the unit's supposed to look like, illustrate it in your style, and jobs are good. And I can't think of many occasions where they turn around and went, no, that's not what we had in mind. I mean, I think an understanding of the game and the miniatures kind of like helps with all that.
As I understand it, that the Hive Tyrant has been sort of given to you by Jess, but the surrounding has not been, right?
Correct.
Okay, so
certainly. When it comes to filling in background, that you were kind of free reign to do whatever you felt added atmosphere to the to the character, whatever sort of enhance the the sense of world, because you can't. The miniatures are the miniatures, and then the art is the art, and what your job with the art is to take the miniatures and breathe an extra dimension of life into the suggest the world. If these are real, then this is the world that they would live in.
And I think this is, as I regard it of now, this is super important, because it's like, I think compared to miniature space, like you have a miniature that can stand on its own, but the miniature tells the story of the surrounding and where it is about. And when you look at like blank drawings from, like if you would take the Hive Tyrant standing there on its own, that would be a magnificent piece. But having it in this cavern-like tunnel system that looks like the inside of a fish or something like that, that breathes in so much more life, makes it so much more believable.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't always have the opportunity to do that, because a lot of the time you were illustrating just a single figure, and it was going to be a quarter-page piece, and there's text around it. But when you got a full page, you knew you had the freedom to kind of really, lean into the setting.
Awesome, thanks. I'm just pulling up, like I have a running tally of or a running gallery of your works here, but I'm also just pulling up random pictures as we talk about them. And so I pulled up that Hive Tyrant, and also that amazing Gene Stealer sketch where it's like crawling up the wall, like with all the pipes and everything in the background. That, as you talk about, doing a full page, getting to do the background, you've done that amazingly over the years. So much care.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's very nice of you to say.
Shane, Bob? Oh, sorry, Flint. Go ahead, Simon.
Someone in the chat just mentioned that he was very sad that there's this double barrel weapon, the Hive Tyrant.
The Barb Strangler.
Yeah, the Barb Strangler never got realized. But this is so cool that this weapon is glowing from inside out, and having it have two barrels is very special for Tyranids, I would guess.
Right. Yeah. I can't recall whether sort of the process of again, because it's Tyranids, there's a little bit of latitude because it's bio weapons. I mean, who's to say what one freaky mutation wouldn't bring about?
Yeah, a bunch of us here do a lot of conversions with our Tyranids, and Simon is an amazing green stuff sculptor. He taught me a lot. I do a lot of green stuff sculpting. Everyone kind of dabbles in it, like Shane and Flint Hammer, Marco a little bit as well. And people's like sometimes people are like, oh my god, green stuff, it's so hard. I'm like, no, you do Tyranids, it's easy, it's organic. If it's a little messed up, it's
Right.
like, oh, it's just a mutation, it's fine.
Yeah. There you go.
Shane, did you want to go? I think your question's next.
Yeah, I actually just real quick did have a quick question about that Gene Stealer piece.
Yep.
I've seen another piece that I'm pretty sure was on the cover of an Alien comic book where the posing of the alien is very similar. Did you base that sketch on that piece, or was it the other way around that you know of?
It might have been a bit of an homage. Yeah, I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, because I've always really loved that Gene Stealer piece and that Alien piece. They're both, to me, very iconic pieces of comic book artwork. So, yeah. So yeah, my question would be, do you remember a particularly difficult project that you worked on, or something that might have stumped you on the design, and how did you kind of work through that process?
I think the only time where I've had any sort of real difficulty, particularly with things like concept art, is on occasions where you're not given enough time to let the designs percolate thoroughly, because there's nothing worse than being sat down, particularly as a concept artist, with a blank sheet of paper and told, right, we need something by the end of the day. You sort of need to give the ideas time for your subconscious to sort of work on stuff and throw ideas out, and you need to be able to do some loose sketches, then walk away and then come back to them and allow the full gestation period. If you don't have that, I tend to find that, certainly for me, I tend to find myself repeating ideas. It'll be muscle memory will kind of kick in, and I'll draw something that'll probably be passable, but it'll probably be too much like something I've done previously, because I haven't been given enough time to let the juices simmer.
Gotcha. So you would mainly say that like due dates are kind of one of the biggest struggles that you've had in the past.
If they're unrealistic, yeah. I mean, it's different with an illustration, because if you know what you're supposed to be drawing, then it's just the laborious business of coloring inside the lines. Really, here's your design. Just fill it in, make it look cool. That's just hours you have to put in. But if it's concept art, that can be it's a little trickier to estimate the time something like that might take you. You might get it straight away. You might have a brilliant idea right off the bat, or you might need to revisit 3 or 4 times, and you don't really know at the start, what's going to come out. So it's always a good idea if you are budgeting for concept art. It's always a good idea to give your concept artist plenty of time.
All right.
And
then I guess we could take a quick break for. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
Somebody
Yeah.
says-
Yep, you saw it.
I was just gonna say, we have a quick break here for a chat question. The first question from our chat's going to come from Deshande, who is also an artist himself. I believe he's done comic book inking, and his question was, "What is your favorite medium to work in, from paint, inking, digital, etc.?"
Thanks for the question. These days, I am pretty much entirely digital. Up until maybe 2 years ago, I was still doing all my sketchwork with pencil and paper. But I've developed a little arthritis in my thumbs, particularly this one, which is the moneymaker. I tried using like softer leads that I didn't have to press as hard and all that kind of stuff. But still, at the end of the day, it was just getting really, really sore. But going fully digital, I've got a big set over here now, a big Cintiq that I draw on, because you can control the sensitivity, the pressure required to make a mark. You can be the lightest touch and leave a really strong line. And I have at last found some really good digital Photoshop brushes that come pretty close to. They actually do the one company I use. They do a pencil that is named exactly the same size of lead and mechanical pencil thing that I was using, and I've realized that by adjusting some of the numbers on that, it's like that's pretty close to what I used to do physically. So as much as I mourn not creating physical art, because I would rather still do it, at least my pencil stuff on paper, I've managed to transition to fully digital with pretty effective results. Back in the day when I was doing, if I was doing like a color piece for Games Workshop, it was very much mixed media. It'd be acrylic paint and ink and colored pencil and whatever I needed to make a mark. So I liked the fact that it was a bit of everything. My black and white work started off purely pencil, but this was back in the day when Games Workshop would have to physically photograph the original art. And because it was all pencil, the graphite could be quite shiny, so it was very difficult for them to light it effectively not to get like reflections on it. So then I started using Indian ink to blacken the really dark areas down. But Indian ink is also a bit shiny. So then I eventually I found some liquid acrylic, which was matte. And the more I used that, the more I moved away from pencil. So that the work I was doing, the black and white work I was doing kind of towards the end of my time with Workshop was about 80% ink washes, and then I'd go in with like a little mapping pen, and then pencil to do sort of shaded detail. So it took me a couple of years to get to the point where I could make stuff confident that Games Workshop could photograph it and then later scan it in, and the finished result would look like the original art. Because that's also the challenge, really, because work you produce, you want it to look as good as it possibly can in print, you know. So I wanted to remove as much of the variables as I could. I didn't want to have to say to the photographer, yeah, you want to crank the contrast up on that so it pops a bit more. I'd rather give them a piece of art that had the right amount of contrast in it.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. I never even thought about how different forms of media would just affect basic things like scanning it into a book. Like I never even think about stuff like that.
Yeah. When Games Workshop bought their first scanners, and at the time they were really, really expensive, but they were just sort of A3. That was like the biggest one you could get. So we had somebody from the marketing department talk to all the artists and say, can you make sure your artwork is smaller than A3? Which don't tell an artist how big to do their art.
Man,
that did not go down well.
I would like to put up another question in here, and because I'm kind of torn a bit in my workplace between digital art and physical art. How would you rate that? Because I have kind of the ongoing discussion if you would need to learn physical art, like how to hold a pencil and learn the pressure and everything, because the kids nowadays, they all have iPads and stuff like that and say, well, I like to draw, but I only draw on iPads. And I always advocate that they should learn drawing with a real pencil, but I feel like a dinosaur sometimes. Would you, from your perspective, would you say that you need a pencil or go straight digital?
I mean, it doesn't seem that you do these days. These days, it doesn't seem that you need to be able to do anything other than click a Mid-Journey to get a piece of art out. You know what I mean? I have very strong feelings about that. So if they're wielding a stylus in any form, whether it's a pencil or a plastic digital pencil, I think that's fine because they're making actual art. So, you know, I'm fine with either. I mean, I still think it doesn't hurt to be able to throw some paint around in the real world. But I understand the convenience of I have friends of mine that grew up traditionally grew up with traditional art who are now, oh no, everywhere I go, I got my iPad Pro, I got Procreate, I got my Apple Pencil, boom, that's all I need. And I do respect that. I can grieve the passing of traditional medium, but it's still, if you're painting in Procreate on an iPad, you're still painting as far as I'm concerned.
Okay,
nice.
I just want to say that, you know, I grew up with in a university more with traditional art, and therefore, like having a real even if it's a pencil drawing, like I had someone send me a letter and did a drawing, a little doodle on the outside, and that was so incredible that I put a frame on it, because I think that means, at least to me, a little bit more than just having a doodle on as a JPEG.
I absolutely agree. Oh yeah. I still, my preference is physical art over digital, but I can't tell the next generation of artists that they should, because professionally nobody seems to care that much, unless you are a traditional artist, unless you are selling original art, in which case, yeah, absolutely, continue to do that. And I think as all industry moves further and further away from the physical, where digital becomes everything, I think almost like vinyl, you know what I mean? It has a value and a worth in and of itself, because it is that physical medium. So and I would rather look at, if I'm in an art gallery, I would rather look at original arts and digital prints for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Right.
Lynn Hammer, thank you. Next, Lynn.
Is there a Xenos race or part of a faction? So either if it's like the Tau, like auxiliaries, or like something that's not really front facing for even like any faction, even from like 40k, that you would like to see included or you would love to work on?
I mean, there's a handful of factions that I never got to do during my time at Workshop. I never got to work on the Inquisition or Adeptus Sororitas, and that was always. I did a couple of Sisters of Battle cards for the Warcraft TCG, but I'd love to have done work for the Inquisition. I think because there's so much opportunity for personalization and putting the original spin and making some really interesting characters. So that would have been cool to do some inquisitorial retinue. That would be awesome. Yeah.
What about the alien factions? Like, was there any like weird aliens like Demiurge or like, I don't know, Hrud, or any of those weird things in the background that you'd like to have seen pulled forward more?
Oh yeah, if the Hrud of the Space Skaven, yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. I mean, the dark, and the dark Mechanicus. So yeah, some of that darker stuff. If the Hrud actually are, I mean, I imagine, knowing Workshop, I'm sure at some point they will do, I mean, they brought the squats back. I mean, I'm sure they're going to do something. I'm sure they're going to give us some space rat men at some point.
Just would agree. He's been wanting to do those for decades now. So yeah.
Awesome.
What Jez wants, Jez ultimately gets.
Good.
Marco, I think you're next.
Yeah, thanks. Mark, I'm not sure how familiar you are with all the models looking back over the long time, but we'd love to know, what was your one sketch where you felt the model got closest to what you drew?
Well, I mean, in the majority of cases, I was the miniature came first, but there are instances where I did the art, the illustration formed the basis for the sculpt, and I would probably say the Green Knight for Bretonia was the one that I felt came really. Michael Perry really nailed it, and I think still to this day it's kind of the regard with which that miniature is held. And then Mike McVeigh's paint job as well, because he put all the twisted vines and stuff that were on the artwork. He put it on the miniature, so that I think is probably as good as it's going to get in terms of translating a piece of my art into miniature form.
Yeah, absolutely. You did notice the latest Mephisto model?
Yeah. The fact that you can put him in the pose, wiping the blood,
it's a slide,
or wiping his nose, or wiping his eye, depending on where you put the hand. Yeah, but again, that was from Jez. That was from a Jez concept. So all I did was take Jez's miniature and pose it. But it's nice that the new miniature references the pose in the art. That's a nice nod.
Everyone recognized it as once belonging to your old piece of art. So yeah.
Yeah, I was actually wondering if that was going to be your answer. I'm like, it's got to be the Mephiston. Like, that's a photocopy of your art, but The Green Knight
Well,
is a good call.
but I could also say the new Chaos World Eater Terminator
Oh yeah.
that they
Yes.
did for Warhammer Plus thing. Yeah.
So I
But
had
that-
no
but that
interest in
you-
Warhammer Plus until that, like, they didn't even have to like show the model. They showed the silhouette and I knew immediately what it was. And I was like, damn it, I'm signing up for Warhammer Plus. And I've got it. He's over there somewhere. But
Nice.
I signed up. I did 1 year and I didn't renew. I just needed this Terminator in my life. So good.
Yeah.
But the
That's
Green
awesome.
Knight is a great like I don't think I'd actually, because I'm more of a 40K person than a fantasy person, and I don't know that I'd ever seen your art for it. But even being a 40K person, when I was little and I would look at the catalogs, the Green Knight always stood out. I guess that was like your work with like Mike McVeigh's work, like together. Or yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I think one of the a landmark piece as well for Michael Perry, because I don't think it was long after that he lost his hand to a cannon blast. So it became it became mythologized a little bit to some extent, I think.
Okay. Wow.
It was a cannon blast. I didn't know if that was like an urban legend. Okay.
It is, but it's also true. Yeah. It's big reenactment. Him and his brother were big into the reenactment work. So yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
At least what was written down in the White Dwarf back then. I remember that.
Yeah, but that feels like a Games Workshop White Dwarf story, but apparently it's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's crazy.
All right, Mark, I got a follow-up question. Is there an artwork you did that you would really like to see turned into a model? Like vice versa, the other way around.
Trying to think of the pieces that I did that were concept pieces that never got made into that I never did. Because if I did an illustration, it pretty much went in the book, so a miniature would have been made from it. I suppose maybe it's heretical, but I did a for the fourth edition Space Marine Codex. I did a concept of a what do I call it? Hive Fleet Librarian, which is a librarian with a head of a Tyranid wired
Wait,
into.
hold on. I got it. Okay, so this is one of our questions for later. You've jumped ahead. This is one of, like, we got to pick the questions. We got to pick the questions that we wanted to ask you. And the question that I picked, well, there's a Screamer Killer one coming up, but I saw these pieces and I hate Space Marines. I think they're so boring until I saw these pieces and I was just like, this is so cool. Like, I think I tried, you made the librarian, and then you also made Hive Mind Psyker, which is like a littler dude, kind of like an acolyte sort of dude that had like a living Tyranid head on a pole. And
Yes,
I started converting these because I was like, these need to exist. They're so cool.
right. Yeah. It was a set of concepts I did tied to the Tyrannic War Veterans. So we were going to do some, because it was the Ultra. Yeah, I guess it was the Space Marine Codex, which was the Ultramarine Codex.
Yeah.
And it was okay. How can I make the Tyrannic War Veterans, give them a bit of extra juice? And the idea that the librarian would open himself up to the hive mind by keeping a Tyranid head alive.
I love
and
it so
plug
much.
it into his psychic hood. I was told it was heresy and that Ultramarines would never do that.
Who cares?
Which I think is why I drew then the little psyker, the little Imperial psyker as this. Well, maybe this guy can do it.
Oh, that's how they came from. Oh,
Mark,
okay.
I think so.
we might have used your idea on one or two conversions, or
I've like, so I do like Tyranid stuff, but I also fell in love with Kroot in a big way. And I did you ever see the Predator versus Alien movie where they're in like that temple or whatever and there's aliens? There's a human who's fighting with the Predator, which is insane, like fighting alongside the Predator, and she takes the alien head and she wears it as like an arm shield. So I thought that could look really cool in a Kroot, where you take like a Tyranid armor plate and like they've got like a Tyranid like tail as a spear. And for one of those guys, I stole your concept, and he has like this lictor pelt on, but it's still alive, and like it's still like hooked up like pipes and stuff like that to like use it as camouflage. These sketches are so cool, so I'm so glad you mentioned them, because, and like you did a chaplain as well, Chaplain Cassius. all
I
kinds
did.
of-
Yeah, I did a few Cassii. I don't know the plural of Cassius is. And one of them, it went. I mean, it's part of the job with a concept artist is to push it beyond the point of sanity into something truly crazy. So okay, that's too much. So let's rein it back. And I think the first Cassius one was like massive, great
banner,
sort of talon,
like a huge banner coming out.
Yeah, with a mummified Tyranid warrior on the top.
I've got them all here. I've got them all on screen. Yeah.
Okay. So some of those are fun to do.
And then I was wondering why there was 2 sketches for Cassius, but I see now there's the epic one, and then there's the well, maybe this could actually be a model one where he's got a Tyranid head and a tail. And
although what I will say is that it looks like Cassius's banner may have later inspired the Ultramarine Dreadnought that Forge World did.
Oh,
because they had a very similar banner with the Tyranid warrior mummified on it.
Definitely.
Those sketches.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how some of that stuff sort of stays around. It hangs around in the ether at Games Workshop, and suddenly will pop up 10 years later.
And those sketches back then have inspired at least the Games Workshop I was working at so madly, because you had the artwork and the codices, but Games Workshop decided at some point to release those concept sketches, and we were mad for those because they were like opening the door after the codex and opening up even wider worlds and inspired us madly.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
because obviously there's always a limit on what you put in, into a codex, because you obviously you have to support that with miniatures. But if you release the art and do articles in White Dwarf or whatever it might be on the community, it's a little looser. It's a little, well, here's some things you might be interested in playing around with,
Yeah, and that was it seems heretical that they would do that now, because our experience with the new Warhammer community site and all that is that stuff is pretty locked down. But I know that we were talking about the Space Marine ones after the Tyranid Codex released. They were like, here's a whole bunch of other sketches by Roberto Cirillo that didn't get made into models or didn't get in the codex. And I downloaded every single one of them, and I have a gallery of them online that people still want to check out, because there's just so many cool ideas that didn't make it in. So it's really cool that there was that period when they were releasing more and more of the sketches, so that cool ideas like Cassius or the Hivemind Librarian could get out there. Damn. Yeah. So my question was going to be, are you as gutted as we are that your Tyranid veterans were never made into models? So I guess we already touched on that.
Yeah, it would have been nice. The ones that I did that had the big armored skirt and the big shield, like the Riot shield with the cutout, that you line a couple of them up and you have a guy stood behind with a heavy bolter shooting over the. I always hope somebody would do a Golden Demon diorama, but I never saw one.
Okay, folks, you heard it here.
Someone do it.
I didn't get the guys with the shields because they weren't as Tyranidy, but I remember seeing them. I'm trying to pull them up now, but oh yeah, they're so cool. All right. I'm lost. Does someone know who's next?
It's your question next.
Oh, damn it, it's me. All right. All right. So your iconic Screamer Killer sketch, which I'm now holding up for the camera because I have it on my bulletin board all the time, that was in the front of the second edition Tyranid Codex. It recently sold for about £5,000 at auction. Can you tell us about the genesis of that sketch?
I think it was another one that I think Jez had done the sculpt, and I was just given the sculpt and just found an angle to render it out that worked, and I think that was about it really. I think it was pretty straightforward, that one. I think what was interesting with the sale on eBay was because that model is controversial. Loads of people love it and loads of people hate it. So the artwork consequently has some sort of mythos about it. So I think that's what drove the crazy prices, as just it's always, that's the case with an auction like that. You have two very, very determined bidders driving the price of it up, and it's one of those. Yeah, it's a love-hate piece. So it consequently has some mystique attached to it. But the illustration itself, it was just fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
Rendering of the of Jez's miniature. I saw in the new box set, 10th edition, they've sort of revisited the fundamental structural design. I don't like it as much. Some of the silhouette. I think they needed to make it a little, to obviously bring it in line with the rest of the range. But I would have liked to see that. I'd have liked. It's a screamer. It should have a massive, massive mouth and be screaming, and the mouth's a little small.
I'll be right back.
I would say.
we know something.
He's gonna have to plug his own conversion.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah. we all love the fact that brought them back.
I think you came to the right place. We're all lovers of the Screamer Killer here. I'd killed my video on our chat because I didn't want to duplicate it. So I took that. Oh, you can't see it. I took that 10th edition model and I gave him a giant mouth, and tried to make him more back to the kind of you and Jess version of it, because that's always been my. I've always loved it. So speak for myself. I'm obsessed with the old design, and I would love to see it be more like that. I guess other folks, how do you feel about it? Lynn, Marco, Simon.
I've taken, I think I've done a few different bits with the new Screamer Killer model. So one, I sourced some retro designed claws to put on, and another one I've done a few other bits with it, just because there's elements of the new model I really do like. That it's beefier, it's bulkier. It actually gives back the element to the Carnifex being. You were scared to see that again in someone's army. But it's just there's bits they should have kept. I think the way the body and the head all molds into one is just perfect for that model, with it all just coming through as that scream, rather with another bit. It's it comes out and then it's got to travel further. Just doesn't seem.
I'd forgotten that was the original Carnifex, because everybody knows him as the Screamer Killer. So yeah, obviously with the Carnifex ending being the far more a massive kit that it ended up being, which is awesome. It's gonna, I guess, if they're going to revisit the Screamer Killer, they kind of need to lean into that a little bit. But yeah, I like your guy. Yeah, yeah. Big screamy mouth.
I think on all of the exactly on what you said, Mark. We all were super excited at the old classic weird beastie being given another chance. And I think we all were a little bit disappointed, more or less, that just didn't get the character right. For me, it was a space, which just isn't. Ugh.
Yeah, he just looks like too happy. I think what is interesting is when in preparation for tonight, I went through your works for the Tyranids range, or the artworks you made. And you have a very distinctive way to draw the eyes and the face. When you line them up, you can tell that they're belonging to each other. Although when you think about the second edition Tyranid range, that was a really wild time. They were all over the place design-wise. But you somehow managed to have them. Although I'm a big fan of multiple eyes, but they all have two eyes and have this rough skeleton aesthetic to their face. But this kind of ties the wildness together as a range, and I admired that a lot. But nowadays, this face has been kind of used too much. I guess I think that's why we are kind of let down, because it's used up, and this face now could use some fresh ideas, at least.
Maybe. I mean, I think there's a consistency across the range these days, which previous editions didn't have. So I think that's a big plus. But yeah, I think you always want to make sure that for some sort of surprises. And I think they've done that. I think the new Lictor and the von Ryan's Leapers, I think were fantastic. I think they looked amazing. So it's with the plastic technology now able to put that kind of the dynamism in the poses of those creatures, and the fact that you've got posability in some of the claws and stuff, I think is really, really cool. Those look really nice now, which you couldn't really have done before with the metal or even with the resin, really. So I think it's great to see the way the range has advanced, and if I could face painting hundreds and hundreds of miniatures, I would love to have a Tyranid army.
The thing you mentioned about painting is one little bit about Screaming Killer. You said how it was like a very divisive model. There was a person who painted one last year, and just the classic model. I think the only tweak they did to it was just that the hip joint, so they could pose the leg a bit more in line with your artwork. And everybody loved that piece of work.
Yeah.
I think it was Mano Miniatures. So
Was that Mano?
Instagram.
Yeah. So you were asking about our Warp Shadow shirts earlier that we're all sporting. On the Warp Shadow account on Instagram, we do 2 community events every year. We do a Nidvember and we do a June Stealer. So I think that Manos,
bravo,
with the version based on your Screamer Killer, I'm pretty sure that Manos won, or he was one of the winners for Nidvember, right, Flynn?
Best painted one. It was so good. It was no way anyone else could get close to it.
What is he called? Manos Miniatures?
M-A-A.
Sorry?
M-A-A-N-O .miniatures.
And it was so clever that he observed that you have changed the way the legs are set up. I think when you said that you got the miniature first, and then you made the drawing, I was surprised because when you look at the miniature, it's really squat. It's like a square, and your design has a height to it, has a lengthy quality, and you have having the knees pointing outwards, and
he's walking forwards, whereas the miniatures it's like stood squat, whereas I had him stalking forward.
And Mano Miniatures observed this and just tilted the hips just a little bit so the knees are pointing outwards, and this gives the miniatures so much more dynamic movement.
Dynamism.
Yes.
There you go. Dynamism. Yeah. Oh, cool.
I'm just gonna put it in the chat. I'll put a picture of that miniature and then I'll bring it up on the stream too.
Oh wow, that paint job's amazing as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Yeah. See that? Yeah. Just give me that. Yeah. That's awesome. Wow. Holy shit. Yeah. Very nice.
I don't think Mano's in the chat. We're gonna have to let Mano know that we showed Mark Gibbons as Screamer Killer. I think he's gonna like that.
And
the silhouette on that is amazing. I'm like, just do that and just make that.
Just make that bigger.
Yeah.
And he managed with his paint job to also emphasize something you did on your sketch, like having those, which I think the classic paint job of the Screamer Killer doesn't really pick up, are those mouth within the mouth kind of thing that gets lost in the old in the classic paint style of the studio, but it comes out really nice.
it was sort of red and blue, wasn't it, the original paint job? I seem to remember.
With yellow things on the head. It had like yellow markings. It was cool. I loved it, but it had like a blue head and these yellow.
It had blue. They're different paint jobs.
It had yellow markings because all the Tyranid warriors back in the day had those markings on the head, and they became paler the older the Tyranid warrior got.
Right. There we go.
But Mark, when you said the range got more coherent, it's an interesting topic to discuss around with us, because among us we think the Tyranid range got too coherent. Our running joke is that the faces became all Termagon faces. Like the
Wait, Marco, until 10th edition. Until 10th edition. 10th edition got like this new edition got very diverse, but until recently,
that's what I was trying to close the circle.
Oh, sorry.
It's it's all fine. When you said the von Ryan sleepers are awesome, the Victor's awesome, we really applauded the new creatures opening up the design range again, because it just all got too streamlined and too corporate for us.
Right.
That actually ties into a question later on. I guess if we just want to do this one now, the question was the overall Tyranid design style, as we mentioned, has changed a lot since you worked on them. I guess, how do you feel about the trajectory of the design over the years, and is there anything you would have changed?
No, I think it's become more coherent. You know, when you think back a couple of editions with the biovores and stuff like that were a bit sort of strange and a bit peculiar. It's good to see them now. It all sort of hangs together. But I don't think things like you look at the Termagant, the one that I drew in the mid-90s. I think that's pretty consistent with the new versions. I don't think there's a massive amount of difference. There is? You think there is?
Oh yes. I went back and felt like I had to pick a favorite, and I feel like as Nick just had those different images up, I'm not sure, but if I would have to guess, the Termagant was the one where you didn't have the miniature before the drawing.
I would have certainly had Jez's concepts for sure. I can't recall whether the miniature was sculpted at that time.
But it has. I know I'm being pretty fanboy here, but I just love how lifted, how the weight of the whole thing is in different places, especially the silhouette from the side you have in the back.
Humpback.
The humpback, you have this rounded back. Like nowadays they're all straight. They're like arrows shot at the enemy. It just goes forward, and they're trying with the new body shapes to give it a little bit more fluentness. But when you had like the classic Termagants we all have, you have a unit of 50. They will all look like sperms.
And in a way, they are.
and true. But what you did was you have
sperm.
You have so much different qualities to the Termagant, like having so much life and like threatening imagery to it, because it has this curved back and it has this weapon. Like there's a certain gravity to it. The gun is very close to the ground, but the legs are very thin, so it looks a bit lofty. There's so much different impulses in there. When I compare it to I just built some new Termagants. They are just a center of mass, and then there's a tail sticking out, and you have like those different areas put together with thin.
I'll have to check. I'll have to go and look at Jez's art book again and see whether he did, because in all likelihood, particularly the one in the background in the illustration, I would have just copied it from Jez's concept, because I like to do that at the time to give a nod to the concept art. But I'd have to. So I may have taken that from Jez, or it might have just been a spontaneous moment for myself. I can't recall.
Yeah, but I wanted to say that this term, I'm a big fan of Termagants ever since. And
right. That's cool. Thank you.
And this is there's so much madness and menacing threat in this very image that's just glorious.
Thank you so much. That's very kind of you to say. I think, and things like the Lictor that I think, which Shane has the original, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that
Don't
Lictor
remind
is
me. I've told him he has to leave it to me in his will. So
I think that's one of the most successful pieces I did in that codex, for sure. I think so. I'm glad it's in a good home.
It is.
Yeah, I look at it every day when I'm doing my bugs. So it's very inspirational to have it over by my hobby space.
I mean, that's all I can wish for when my babies leave me, is that they go to loving homes.
Yeah, and
Listen,
I also love
Mark, if you've got any more babies, we've got a couple of loving homes here that would love to welcome your babies.
All the Tyranids have gone. They've all grown up and buggered off.
Damn it! Oh, god damn it!
You let you make us, huh?
Oh
Yes.
no, apart from that one.
Mark, do you do commissions?
No, hang on. I say I don't do commissions, but I do actually have a Gene Stealer and one Gene Stealer drawing left. I can't remember what it was done for, but it's only a little. It's only a little one. It's one of the first ones I did. So that is, I still have that. I think. But all the big published ones are gone. I don't do. No, I don't. I'm just too busy to take on commissions. And again, it's when I've entertained the idea, it's usually something like, here's a photo of me. Can you draw me as a Space Wolf captain screaming across the battlefield? I'm like, no.
Oh God.
You know,
wow. Yikes.
yeah.
Isn't there a guy on Instagram who does that? Onirus or whatever? Isn't that his job?
Yeah.
Make you into a Space Wolf captain?
Yeah. Go
Well, you
contact
don't
that
need,
guy.
exactly. You don't need me for that.
I'm just bringing up all the your cool second edition Tyranid art. Like I've got the gargoyle up right now. Oh man, like those gargoyle models are so janky, but your art is so nice. With the weird like flame spurt thing attached to its face. Oh, I love it.
Again,
That's another one straight from Jez's concept. I know that one.
Cool.
So that was done before the miniatures. So it's, if there's a disconnect there between the miniatures and the art, it's again because the art was done way in advance of any sculpts for that one.
Oh,
So
the
that-
disconnect is just that the miniatures could never be as cool and as detailed as what you drew.
This is kind of where my question, if we go
Yeah,
back.
yeah. Sorry, we should get back to the question.
Question.
Simon, go for it.
I know. I just I listened to different podcasts with Andy Chambers and Rick Priestley talking about like the wild times of Games Workshop, and I was wondering how working as a illustrator artist be that at that time, because they talked about in those podcasts how difficult it was to maybe have like units already designed but not made into miniatures, but the codex had to be released. Like, where was your spot in there, and how did you you talked a little bit about that you got concept sketches, but where have you been in that order? Have you been like concept sketch, your illustration, then the model, or
I mean, in general, it is very all of the above. You know, depending on the particular project. Illustrations tended to come fairly late in the process because you've usually got the book laid out. You know where you've got spaces for the art. At the very least, you need ideally all the rank and file, all the troop units illustrated. You know, even if you don't have miniatures for them, you really want pictures. So you can start on those. So if you've got concept sketches but no miniatures, you can start on that. If you don't have concept art, you can do your rough sketch for the illustration can also double up as the concept art. But usually you don't really need to be filling those holes in the codex until you're 3 months from release. Whereas if you're making miniatures, you need to be a year back. Although, if you're doing plastics, you needed to be 18 months back. But metal miniatures, your turnaround time can be quite quick. And the only thing you have to go from green sculpture to making a cast and getting a miniature can be a pretty quick process. But of course, what you have to make sure is before you release the product, you've got reserves of tens of thousands of these miniatures that have been spun by hand, all day and all night. So you've got your bins are full of metal ready to go, and that's the thing you got to make sure before you release it to the public, you've got enough to meet demand. But the artwork was kind of like, that could be just as the book's ready to go to print. You can be dropping in artwork, the day before. There's only one book I can think of where I did art for it, and the art didn't make it into the book because there was a change to the layout and they ran out of space. And that was the Dark Elf Army book for fourth or fifth edition. I did actually there's two pieces I did for that. One I did an assassin, and they decided they wanted to change. I did an assassin that was not with a cloak. It was kind of almost like death cult assassin, just sort of stripped down, poison and daggers and stuff, and a mask. And they decided, no, we want to go with a more classic cloak and dagger, so that my art didn't make the book. And then I did a Beastmaster with two big sort of dark elf dogs on chains, and there was just no room for it. The way they ended up configuring the book, they ran out of space, so it didn't make it in. But that's the only occasion I can think of where I did artwork that didn't actually make it into the book. Usually, it's usually your artwork gets used twice in the book. It'll appear in the army section and then somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know.
Cool. Thanks, Simon. Flynn, I think you're next.
Get back to the questions quickly. So,
11.
do you have a favorite Xenos creature?
You can't beat a big orc like a goth knob with a horned helmet. You know, it's just they're adorable. I pay. It's the one. It's a little cabinet over there. I've got my my orc kill team in it, and they're orc bikers who have lost their bikes. They're the sons of Anor. They're the sons of anarchy. And they've got handlebars and forks, and their guns are mounted on the forks. Run around pretending they still have motorcycles.
Are there pictures of this online? Because
yes. They should be on my AMG Artworks Facebook account. There should be some in there somewhere, I think.
Just the idea of it is hilarious. I need to see the execution of it now.
I was inspired by the remade Wurzel Gummidge. If you saw that, there was an episode of that where they had these biker scarecrows who were pretending they had motorcycles, and it's like, isn't that a great idea for an orc biker gang?
That's great.
Because of orc logic, they actually work as bikes.
Yeah. Well, the only one that's got a wheel, the war boss has a wheel on it between forks, so he's got the fanciest one.
I'm pulling up the Facebook here. Let's see if I can. I'll see if I can find it. But
it'll be probably back away. But I think I'll put a couple of pictures up there. I think so.
Well, if we,
I don't share a lot of miniatures on there, but they're probably on there somewhere.
I know it's not one of our questions we've got there, but one of the things I went on a kick-off was getting out the old art books at the collection of arts from different artists, and I wasn't able to find one for you for like your Games Workshop art. Were they done like in your years away from Games Workshop, or was there something that had to happen to get a art book created for your works at Games Workshop?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know. They didn't tend to. I think Dave Gallagher did one. They might have done one. I don't know if they did one for Adrian Smith. I think it just depended on what Black Library wanted to do at any given time. I mean, my artwork's been, when they've done collections, they put my stuff in there, but they didn't do an art book of just my stuff. They didn't do one for Paul Bonner. They didn't do one for Kev Walker. You know, they didn't do one for Wayne England. I think it's just I don't know. I don't know what
they did do. That's
historically
they didn't do one for Wayne England like that. I can't believe that.
No.
Yeah, like you're a big deal, Mark, but come on, Wayne England. He's another big deal.
Wayne was a big deal. He certainly was.
Still is in a lot of people's hearts, but yeah, I found the bikers. They're so cool.
Oh, awesome.
Sorry, you mentioned our trap card there, Mark. Paul Bonner. Are you familiar with the Paul Bonner Tyranid, that sketch where it's like inside a hive ship and bodies are being like digested and eaten by creatures and stuff?
It rings a bell, and it was deemed too gory to put in the book, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's
not very family friendly.
Let's see if I can.
Which
pull
is
it up.
weird coming from Paul, because you think that'd be more of an Adrian Smith kind of thing, you know? Because Paul's orcs were always so friendly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it's just there we mentioned our that Nidvember thing that we do, and one of Deshande, who asked a question earlier, he's creating a piece right now that's loosely inspired by the Paul Bonner work.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's just got one of the creepy kind of like spidery things that is crawling around there eating people.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, I remember those. Yeah. I mean, that was like I said with the Hive Tyrant. You get the opportunity to drop in little little characters, little creatures that are not sort of canon as such. But it's like, hey, of course, you'd have all these weird little things on a Hive ship, wouldn't you?
Yeah. This is like the some of the grossest stuff I've ever seen. Depicting Tyranids, but gross in like a really cool way. Like,
yeah,
I think it's amazing. Talking about like how a lot of Tyranid art is like homage to Geiger. This is very Geiger, I'd say. But yeah, cool. All right, I feel like we're getting off topic. That was Xenos. Oh, do we have a chat question?
Yeah, I've got a couple lined up actually.
Yeah. Go for it.
So Dom Littler was first. He just had a comment. He said that you have been extremely influential in himself becoming a concept artist. So he wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you for that.
And his question was, when you're doing client work, do you ever struggle to find the time to work on your own personal art?
Yeah, that's why I don't do it anymore. Yeah, I stopped taking on commissions or client work a couple of years ago to focus on my studio these days on Rookery publications. And it takes a while to get comfortable saying no, because certainly when you've worked as a freelancer for a lot of years, you think, oh, if I start saying no, they're going to stop asking, and then what happens if the thing I'm doing, doesn't take off, and then you have that crisis of confidence. But because I found that what I really wanted to do, as soon as I got older, what I wanted to create stuff that belonged to me, or belonged to me and my team, rather than what you always do otherwise, which is produce artwork for clients and then surrender the rights to that art. It's not yours as soon as they pay you for it. It becomes theirs. And I wanted ownership of what I made, even if it meant I didn't get paid anymore. It became more important for me to own my own creation.
I've just pulled up Rookery here. We'll definitely there's one of our questions is like, what kind of stuff are you working on right now? So we'll definitely want to get into that, but I put the link to Rookery Publications in the chat, and Rookery has a YouTube that you should go and subscribe to right now. There's the link.
We do a weekly stream called Inside the Rookery, where we talk to people in the industry about making games, about running games. It's meant to sort of it's kind of like an introduction to who we are and what we do. And I think once we start to release proper product, serious product next year, I think it's going to become more of a kind of a lively forum for. We'll do live streamed games. We'll play. We'll demo our products live on that. We'll show more. We'll do more. We've got plans for lots of master classes and things like that. Right now, my days are consumed with getting across the finish line with our first big book, and then next year we'll be releasing some stuff, and we'll be laying out the plans for our big epic campaign.
Nice.
So, just because I'm the nuthead in this group. I love Tyranids, but I'm pretty elbow deep in the indie scene right now. What are you? I tried to in advance to dig into Rookery publications, and it didn't, and I couldn't really make out what you're doing there exactly. So, are you producing your own rule sets or your own?
Yeah, so we are an independent developer / publisher. Initially set up three years ago with myself and some other Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition and actually earlier editions and that originators. So former Warhammer teammates that I had been introduced to Andy Law, who was the writer of the 4th edition Woofrup, and I worked with him a little bit, did some artwork for him when he was at Cubicle 7, who had the license to do Woofrup. But Andy's work on the franchise dates back to 2nd edition because he's an award-winning cartographer as well as being a writer. So it's Andy and Lindsay Law, Andy Lease, who's a writer as well for Woofrup. Lindsay was a writer, and initially we had Graham Davis, who was a creator in the 1st edition of Woofrup. We've had some comings and goings in the time since, but we are deep into the development of this epic, system agnostic fantasy campaign that has the flavor of Woofrup, but it's our own world, our own setting. We are now doing a rule set. We hadn't planned to originally, but we've been convinced to do that, so we're working on that as well. We put a couple of PDFs out on Drive-Thru RPG, just taster, but our first big book is approaching finish. So that'll be we are negotiating with publishing partners so we get access to big scale distribution and warehousing and all that kind of stuff and that sort of expertise. We're also making board games as well, and the first thing we've got coming out, which again next year, will be the 2nd edition of Dark Deeds, which is a game I made with Andy Chambers, who you'll know, I'm sure, about 5-6 years ago. So we've worked on an updated version of that, new art, new rules. It's the first in a series of games. I've got about another 2 or 3 games in various stages of development. So it's been 3 years now. It's been sort of building to a point where we have product ready to go. And next year we'll see. Obviously, we did this in the middle of COVID. But anyway, here we are. And next year, 2024, will be the year that we really start to bang out product, and then hopefully when you will know what the Rookery is all about next year.
Really looking forward.
It's been fun. It's been really fun because I'm the only artist on the Coiled Crown at the moment. So all the illustration, all the graphic, as I said, I learned how to do layout in order to be able to sort of put the books together myself as well, to ensure that the balance between art and text these are very pretty books. I hope everybody thinks so as well when they see them. But yeah, it's been a thrill. It's been a challenge. I think when we talk about going to go as we move forward, we need to kind of maximizing the process so that we get to deliver really, really high quality content for a little studio, but we make sure we get it out at regular intervals to keep hopefully a growing customer base happy. So all that sort of side of the business, which is alien or had been alien to me. Echoing back the question was, when you take on work from clients, you do not have time to do your own stuff. Now I'm doing all my own stuff, and I realized, what a massive undertaking that is to truly own your own work. But it's been thrilling and really satisfying. And I think the artwork I've done for the first book, which is called Ship of Fools, is probably amongst the best artwork I've ever done. Awesome. So, and again, as somebody who dislikes most of his own artwork, that actually that's a big statement for me.
And I just wanted to note that Kajan, who is one of our other stream hosts, we do a different stream on Wednesdays every other week. He's actually found your stuff on RPG Drive-Thru. He said that when his pen and paper group looked for a new system a couple of weeks ago, we looked into Woofrup, which I've never heard before, and similar systems, and I came across this one on Drive-Thru. So he's one of your fans, and he's in Germany too. He's one of our many Germans.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, as I say, it's just a couple of PDFs out there at the moment. Which
apparently he bought Well of Bones. Is Well of Bones one of yours?
Yeah, that's the complete location. Yeah, that's one of ours. Awesome. Thank you for your patronage, sir.
And I also I feel like when we were introducing ourselves, we didn't big up some members of the stream enough. Especially Simon, who was saying he's the heretic. He's less into Tyranids and more into like third-party stuff. Simon's got 2 young sons, and he wanted to play tabletop games with them. So he created something called non-combat tabletop. And this is something that he just came up with during COVID, teaching his son how to do like tabletop movement and stuff like that with a game he created called Apple Picking 28. And now it's this whole thing where there's all these people making non-combat tabletop games. So
That's
I
awesome.
just wanted to big
That's
him
awesome.
up for that.
Right on. Very cool.
Thank you.
All right. Where were we? That was a chat question, right?
That was a jacket
Yes.
question, yeah.
Next, I think this is you, Shane.
Yeah.
Number 12?
So, are there any pieces you worked on that were never shown to the public that you wish saw the light of day? I know you mentioned those Dark Elf Army book pieces, but were there any other ones?
Yeah, I mean, for Warhammer, really, for Games Workshop, I'm trying to think if there's anything other than those. Not really, because there's concept art that may not have seen the light of day, but all the illustration stuff ended up out there for sure. Not the same with when I think of like work on video game studios, like the work I did at Blizzard. Yeah, 50% of that never made it into in-game models. But that's not a bad hit rate for as a concept artist. You throw it all against the wall and you hope as much of it sticks as possible. And if half of it sticks, that's not bad.
Right on.
Nice. And Marco, I think yours is next. I don't know if we already touched on this,
Yeah,
but let's
thanks.
see.
I think you have already answered this question, but do you have a favorite piece of everything you did for Games Workshop or Warhammer, and why is it your favorite piece?
Well, as we've established, I hate most of that I do.
So what don't you hate?
I don't
What's the one piece you don't hate?
No, I've got like about a dozen pieces still in my collection that I would be loath to part with. There's a few Eldar. The Eldar Avatar is probably one.
Yes, yes, the Avatar. I'm sorry.
And there's a couple of Aspect Warriors that I like as well. The Swooping Hawk and the Striking Scorpion. I've still got those.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
The Scorpion, is that the like Scorpion on its own, or is that the Karandras?
No, it's the one on its own.
Where it's like kneeling almost?
Yeah.
Oh god, it's so good.
Down.
I just pulled it up.
There's a couple of high elf pieces, the Swordmaster of Hoth and the Dragon Prince of Calidor.
Yeah.
Those are pretty cool. Chaplain Cassius stood in a cathedral. I've still got that one. That one's all right.
Barely.
Oh, I did a for the Undead book. I did a white, just a black and white pencil one. I still got that guy. That might be it. There's probably one or two more. There's pieces that I have that are no longer in my possession that I kind of wish I'd kept.
Yeah.
Kargoth Bloodspitter, which is the World Eater Berserker stood on the Plain of Skulls.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite.
Yeah, Jez Goodwin's got the original of that, so I know it's in good hands.
That's fine.
I know it's well looked after.
It's an acceptable answer.
Yeah. So there's a few that are alright. Oh, I've still got the Morgana Le Fay, the Fey Enchantress from the Bretonnian book.
Yeah.
I still got her. She's alright. Yeah.
I like how we all are like ogling your artwork, and you're like, it's all right. It's okay.
Oh, I've still got a couple of Skaven. The Plague Censer Bearer. I like it. All right.
Yes.
Mark, before I knew that you weren't much for Instagram, I sent a message to your Instagram account. There's someone on Instagram right now called My Tiny Demons, who is doing a conversion of the new avatar model to look like your art.
Oh,
and
wow,
I'm
yeah.
gonna put it in the chat. He's
Yeah, I
doing
see it.
a pretty good job.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah, it seems criminal to me that like I mean I understand it. Like I get to that point with my own art where I'm tired of looking at it, but it seems criminal that your art is so formative for so many Warhammer people, and just like other artists, you're like, oh man, I'm so tired of it, or like you see the errors in it or something like that. So don't worry when you hate it.
No,
we're all
honestly,
loving
I
it.
know. anytime I see somebody take one of my older pieces and kind of do a conversion based on it, I get warm, fuzzy feelings, very much so. So yeah, no, it's a thrill. Yeah, I'm never dismissive of that. It's just I know it's my own personal hang up about the work, and again, I don't lie awake at night hating my stuff. It's it's just I'm not as thrilled with it as some people are good enough to be. That's all.
Makes sense. On the topic of Eldar, Kajan's just asking, did you do Dire Avengers that were in color in one of the White Dwarves? Did you do many color pieces, or were they mostly?
No, I don't. I did a couple of color Eldar pieces for the TCG. So I did a warlock and a jet biker in color. I think that might be it.
I'm impressed by how much you remember.
Yes.
You did.
Yes.
Yeah, considering what I've just said about not liking them, it's amazing I can't get them out of my head, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you? Okay.
I mean, I suppose you live with them. You live with them quite intensely for a short period of time, so they do drill themselves into your brain.
Yep. There's this. Okay, when I was looking up, pulling a bunch of your art together to do this, there was this one piece that I found that someone thought was your work. I don't know that it's your work, so I figured I should probably ask you.
I bet I know what piece.
Come on.
There's always one piece that people say it's yours, and it's not.
Is
mine.
it a second edition Tyranid warrior holding up like a striking scorpion and like attacking?
Oh no, it's not. That's not the one I thought you were going to ask me about. I'm
assuming this is not.
I don't know. You have to show me the piece so I can.
I'll send it to you. One
second. I don't think that's mine.
It's like done in like the era of your art, and like it's similar. Like I don't know. Here's the piece.
No, that's Steve Tappin.
Steve Tappin.
Yeah.
Okay, who wants to score some Reddit points? Because someone on Reddit has no idea who's done this.
There you go.
It's a cool point. Cool piece.
You can tell by him not signing it.
No, I didn't.
Oh no, there's something down here. There's a small
I didn't sign
signature.
all of them. I didn't sign everyone. If I didn't like it, if you see a piece of mine and it's not signed, it's because I didn't like it.
Ah.
Smart.
That's actually a good segue into the next question. Though.
Sorry, go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
It's your question.
Oh, damn it. Oh shit, here we go. Oh yes, okay. Thank you. Thank you for setting this shit up. I'm having too much fun here. I'm getting distracted. All right. So speaking of signatures on seminal art pieces, there was an incident recently that people might be aware of where Games Workshop posted a very iconic piece of your art. I don't speak Space Marine. I've been told it's Helbrecht. He's a Black Templar. Because they released a model which was again a like almost one-to-one rendition of your art, or an attempt at it at least. And when they posted it on their website, they removed your signature from the piece.
Yeah.
All of us fanboys were like, what the hell are you doing? Like, everyone knows who made that art. Like, why would you take that off there? So can you tell us about like how you found out about that, how you felt about it, and just share more about Games Workshop and their agreements with artists when it comes to IP and how they might differ from other companies. So first of all, let's talk about how you felt about it and how you found out about it.
Disappointed, I think, would be the best way to sum it up. Unsurprised, because I know they don't get their creative staff anymore. But yeah, so I didn't expect to see my name in the article. It was just, it's a classic. It's a classic piece of 40K art.
Yeah.
But to paint out the signature, just a bit beneath them, I thought, to be honest. I mean, my reaction to it was I rolled my eyes a little bit. And then I thought the best response I could do was to go to Redbubble, which is a print on demand site, and make MG stickers and advertise those. So you could buy MG stickers and stick them on anything you like. Stick my signature on anything you like. I had hoped somebody would go to Warhammer World and stick them all over Bugman's, but it's not happened yet.
Let's do it.
All right, Flynn, we got a mission for you.
Okay. I want to find these stickers.
Yeah, got a Redbubble.
I just pulled it up. MG stickers.
And then-
Let's see what happens.
Well, it's my site it's called Hellhorn Industries. HELHORNE. I started making T-shirts. I started just making them for myself, just designs I liked. And if anyone wants to buy one too, that's cool. So I just put the sticker on. I just put the MG sticker on there.
Sorry, it's Hellhorn. HELHORNE.
Yeah, one word. Yeah, but one L in hell and an E on the end of Hellhorn.
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 We got a bad breath
so it's
sticker.
just a few. Oh, there you go.
I found it. Okay. If you want to get MG stickers, here's the link, kids.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think for me with that whole thing, it's
man.
just like the fact that somebody who was responsible for like, okay, we're going to post this article. Somebody went out of their way and said, hey, erase Mark's signature from the artwork before we post it. And I think just that really bugged me a lot. It's like, why? Like,
I mean, it's not new and it's not exclusive to Games Workshop. Most of the big studios I've worked for have at one point that asked me to stop signing my art.
This is interesting.
Workshop didn't. Part of the reason that even back in the day I started hiding the MG in the artwork was partly to reduce its visibility, so they'd stop asking me to take it off, and also to make it a little bit more difficult to remove. But of course, with digital stuff now, it's easy to paint it out. I was surprised by the uproar about it. Because apparently Reddit went nuts, and then even more surprised that they reinstated the artwork with the signature.
Yeah.
But I think as a consequence,
They also put your name in the article.
Did they?
Yeah, they edited the article and they put your name in it.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know. I didn't realize they'd done that as well. It's a bigger issue over credit. And we could spend 2 hours talking about that, but let's not. Let's not. It's all to do with power. I think from a corporate perspective.
Yes.
Without digging too deep into it, it's unfortunate that studios feel the need to do that. Again, I've been asked to do it at Blizzard. I was asked to do it at Riot. I put my signature on it, and because partly it's something artists have been doing for thousands of years. Also, if you're working in a big studio, sometimes the art gets separated from the artist who created it, and sometimes down the line, a designer or a sculptor or an editor might want to talk to the artist about that piece, and if you've got your initials on it, it makes it a little bit easier to find.
Yeah.
But if once the art leaves my desk, people can do. The studio is free to do with it what they want, and if they want to cut my signature off, I'm powerless to say anything about it. It's a shame. It's a shame that studios feel, particularly as we thunder towards the mid-journey apocalypse, that studios are so willing to remove human identity from the amazing work that's created in every aspect of their business. So yeah, it's a shame.
Word.
It was really good to hear that. It's like not good to hear. It's shitty to hear that other studios do the same thing, that they don't want you to sign your work, they don't want your signatures on it. Because of course, I feel like with Games Workshop, they've been through, like, I don't know if you've heard about that stuff, but more of a rigmarole recently where they had presenters online in their videos, and then like people would quit Games Workshop, go and set up their own YouTube channel, be very successful, and then for a while they stopped showing anyone's face. And like now, even on their website, when they have their community articles, they never put anyone's last name. Like they had a whole article about creating Tyranids, and they're like, hey, Angus did this, and like Philip did this, but they didn't have anyone's last name. So I had to like go and sleuth out what these people's real names were. So I think that the community who pays attention to this kind of stuff is primed for Games Workshop to try and not credit artists, because and people assume it's because they don't want to like set up a platform for someone to go and make their own buck outside of the company, but I guess it could be just an industry thing.
It's also a reminder that you are merely a cog in the machine. Again, which is a shame, because it didn't used to be that way. It used to be celebrate the creative people that make your products.
Yeah.
But it seems to be changing, industry wide.
But the weird thing is, Games Workshop wouldn't be where it is if it was like that from the beginning.
No, that's true.
And
That's
I think
true.
to be honest, I'm an advocate for converting stuff and not building it out of the box. And I have been having my fights within the company for years, because I was advocating that, for example, if you release something as your concept sketches, people will be inspired by that to try to mimic that, to go and buy just another box of Space Marines to kit bash them with other stuff. And
I've spent so much money to get one tiny part for kit bash.
Yeah, I built it once of Fabius Bile, and just needed this one head from the Chaos Space Marine General, and just bought another box of them just to get the head. And I think it really is a shame that they're trying to let's put it in another way. I think that having people to identify, to see this is my favorite artist within the wide variety of games, what Games Workshop has to offer. I can look out for those people, and I can see, oh, look, my favorite artist has done something, a new sketch or something, and I can try to rebuild what he envisioned, stuff like that. And I don't see why this is giving like power to the artist, aside from being happy at some point. No one will say, hey, I want the double of the money for my works now because I have some nerds building Space Marines the way I drew them. So that's my rant. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm going to put light on. We're getting a bit dark here in California. Hang on. Let me try and brighten myself up. Oh,
and it's
too much.
And it's very much the case that, like, once you create this art for Games Workshop, for Riot, for Blizzard, it's theirs. Like, you have no ownership.
No, it's true. I mean, the question I get asked more than any other is, can I get a print? Do you have an art book of your Warhammer stuff? And the answer is no. I don't have the rights to any of that kind of stuff.
Wow. Okay.
I can't put any of that out.
How does that work with regards to, like, does Games Workshop have high quality scans of all your past Warhammer artwork that if they wanted to reuse it, they have it, or do they have any rights to ask you for like to scan the artwork that you did for them in the past? Since you
they scanned it as soon as they'd scanned it all in. As soon as they got high quality scanners, like at the end of the 90s, all my artwork turned up in the back of a van one day. And just there, we don't need that anymore. You can have it all back.
Wow, interesting.
What the fuck?
Lucky you, I would say. I'm not sure if they're doing it this way around today.
Holy shit.
Mark, I meant to ask, the Helbrecht sketch that we were talking about, is that a newer piece? Was that your second stint at Games Workshop? Was that before?
That was 2005. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was a digital piece from 2005, 2006. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. When I was back in the studio, I wasn't there that long. But I was the sort of, I guess, lead artist. I don't know. I was doing the concept art and a bunch of the illustrations for the Black Templars Codex.
Yes.
So I did Helbrecht and Grimaldus and a bunch of the icons for the as the spot art.
Yeah.
And then the concept art for the miniatures.
That was the glorious time when they released, I think, kind of felt like the start of the internet, that they released those concept sketches, because they did that with the Space Marine Codex, with the Black Templar Codex, and with the Tyranid Codex.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Chapter House rolled around, made a bunch of models for all the concept sketches, and they're like, we're not doing this anymore. Forget it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Simon. The
Oh,
next one is...
I got subpoenaed. I got subpoenaed for that chapter house.
You did?
Did you
Yeah.
really?
What?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't have to go to court because Games Workshop's lawyers got involved, and it was I probably shouldn't too much about it, but I was subpoenaed by Chapter House, asking would I go to court and confirm that this particular piece of art didn't come from Games Workshop. I had found inspiration for it elsewhere, and it was such nonsense.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
So yeah, I got in touch with the workshop's lawyers and they said, yeah, don't worry about that one. Yeah, you don't have to go to court.
Oh my god. Okay.
Wow.
The story unfolds more.
Simon,
Yeah.
Yes.
did you want to? I feel like we're kind of rambling and we might already hit these. Let's see if you want to hit that question and just see if there's any. 15.
Oh, sorry. I was one ahead. Is there any faction you would have liked to work more on?
Kind of talked chaos and like dark mag.
Sisters, everything.
Yeah, but
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the Inquisition would. If I were there now, Dark Mechanicus would probably be awesome.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Assuming that they're working on that. I mean, I don't know. I assume somebody is.
They got that one guy, Vastor. I think they're heading in that direction. The skinny guy with the big mechanical wings.
Yeah. But I mean, you pretty much got to kind of dip your toe in the whatever you wanted to do. You know, I mean, certainly when I was there, it was like, well, what do you want to work on? Here's what's coming up. Do you want to do pieces for this? Do you want to do, you know? So there's, I would have liked. I mean, certainly, I love the new Cities of Sigmar miniatures.
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic.
For sure.
That would have been cool to work on.
If I might say, if I'm looking at your Space Marine work, your concept sketches, and the Black Templar sketches, like I feel like the Cities of Sigmar are much in that spirit, and it almost feels like you have been working on them, at least.
Oh no! Well, thanks. Thank you very much. I did have a whole. I didn't get to do it because my second stint didn't last long. But after Black Templars, I was due to move on to Dark Angels, and I had a whole bunch of ideas. I had a whole bunch of ideas for Dark Angels that didn't get to see the day. So you know,
there are a lot of Dark Angels fanboys out there who are very sad right now. It would have been so cool.
Somebody said to me at the time, somebody said they were concerned that I'd used up all the good Dark Angel Gothic mojo on the Black Templars, and he said you're not worried. You've given the Black Templars all the cool stuff for the Dark Angels. I said, oh no, I've got so much good stuff for the Dark Angels.
Was any of it related to Watches in the Dark? I want more Watches in the Dark. Don't know. Damn it. Okay. All right. Shane, do you got any chat questions for us?
So yeah, I did have one Symbio Joe question. He's another one of our resident Germans. Do you have like a particular recipe when it comes to creating a menacing character? Because he mentioned how all your character has this, or all your artwork has this very clear sense of kind of threat to it. It's kind of grim, dark, threatening aesthetic. Do you have like a particular, like, you know, like a secret ingredient that you add to your artwork for that kind of selling that kind of aspect of it?
I don't think so.
You do.
I think it. Oh well, not that I'm aware of. I think it just comes down to. I mean, it's lighting and posture. I think a lot of the time, you know, in order, you know, I mean, you can make almost any sort of fundamental design. You don't have to add spikes and skulls. Although obviously, if it's Warhammer, it doesn't hurt. But it can be just down to how you pose a character, how you light them, and that kind of menace can kind of come quite even the most static of posture. If you've got the right pose in there, it kind of radiates that kind of threat.
May I answer that question for you?
Yes, you may.
Especially when I look at the Space Marines. but it also works for the Termagon, for the Tyranids. You always have the same kind of composition to how you pose a miniature or how you pose a character, and it's always looking down on the viewer. Like the head is always in the top part of the page, and it's
Oh,
always
you've got to do a bit of a scowl. Yeah.
you always have this looking down, and I became aware of that when in those small Space Marine drawings, not on the full pages, but in the small ones, where you have like it's in the Blood Angel Codex, where a Blood Angel is almost dark around the head, and it is very menacing because he's looking downwards on you as the observer. And I think this is a very crucial part of having this threat, that as an observer you feel like he's looking down on you, and it doesn't matter who is looking down on you. So this would be my answer.
Sounds perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, we have an art teacher among us.
There you go.
Sorry.
Well, as I said earlier, I only did art college, so you would know better than me.
Yeah, Mark's thinking
What
this is
makes-
why
what
I
makes it
dropped out of
threatening.
school.
Let me make a note. Let me make a note of that. Looking down dark ahead.
Bloody
All right, there we go.
Germans. Balls the size of coconuts. Why do we keep you people around? Okay, who's next?
It's me. It's me.
Go for it.
But it's an easy question, I guess. Mark, thank you for telling us what kind of pieces you prefer among your work that you don't like very much. But we'd like to know, what is the one piece of Warhammer artwork that people ask you about the most?
Oh, I like this question.
What's the most popular from an outside perspective?
It's a toss up, I think, between as I mentioned before, the Eldar Avatar, Fabius Bile.
Oh
Yeah.
Oh man.
Did we ask who has the avatar?
And then
You have the
I have
avatar.
the Avatar.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then Kargoth Blood Spitter on his Plane of Skulls. I think
Yeah.
those are and it's usually, can I buy a print? And then we go back to the
Yeah.
the sad old question, no you can't.
Yeah.
Not one. Well, you can, but I can't sell it to you. You have to get the Games Workshop to sell it to you, and I don't think they're in any hurry to do that.
I saw that post you made on Facebook where you mentioned how you didn't want to part with the Avatar, but if Henry Cavill got in contact with you, you might reconsider. Has he?
If he wants to toss a few Witcher coins my way.
Well, Henry, if you're watching the Creature
No,
Conference,
he just wants Space Marine garbage. He's just Mr. Golden Boy, whatever. Junk
Adeptus Custodes. Yeah, it's kind of like, well, of course he likes those. He's Superman.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
But I keep saying every time I get the opportunity, I keep saying, Henry, if you're watching this, and if you are making an Amazon Warhammer 40K series,
Okay.
and you got, and they let you down on The Witcher in terms of not understanding the source material, you know who to come to. I will never disappoint you, Henry.
I have it on good authority. He watches the stream, so
Oh, really? And I'm in Los Angeles. You don't have to fly me anywhere.
Yeah. I'm not
Blink twice if you're working on the Amazon series.
not sure if you know, Mark, but Henry's always watching our streams.
Oh, is he?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. Well,
he's here right now.
I'll wait for the phone to ring.
Dear community, just share this, and you know who to tag in this in the reshare, right?
Yep.
There you go. There
Mark,
you go.
did you
You
do
never
a
know.
James
Again, this industry is all about who you know. It absolutely is. Sorry, I talked over somebody then.
No, I jumped in. Did you do a Jane Czar? I hadn't seen that piece. The Phoenix Lord?
Yes.
Very dark one?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just like trying to flesh out
Well,
the gallery.
she's pirouetting on a tank. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
As
but
well.
going back to Marco's question, which you kind of answered, you were talking earlier about how you were asked for someone like there was work and someone would confuse it with your work, and you were
Oh yes.
expecting something else. What have you been
Oh, yeah.
expecting?
Yeah.
Oh, Kev Walker's Black Templar pencil piece, because people think it's mine,
Oh, right,
and
fair
it's
enough.
it's an amazing piece.
Wow.
I wish I had drawn it, because Kev Walker stuff tended to be pen and ink, which is different to my style. And then he did this pencil Black Templar piece that's amazing, and people have over the years thought it was one of mine.
Okay.
And I couldn't do anything that good. But thank you. That was Kev's.
Liar.
That one you can buy a print of on warhammerwhatever.com.
Oh, there you go.
And,
You should do that then.
No,
I should do
it's
that.
Space Marine. Blech. I'm lost on the questions because I'm just trying to pull more art into this thing.
So we can skip my one there. So we can skip 17. We already answered.
You kind of touched on this, but Simon, do you want to go with the next one? Maybe like currently playing any games or?
Yeah. So you said you shared your wonderful orcs with us, but do you much build, convert, paint models these days? Do you play Games Workshop games, or what do you play?
I try to paint kit bash paint model stuff when I have the time. I've given up trying to build any more armies. I've got like a 2,000 Plague Marine army that I built pre Death Guard, so it's all regular Imperial Space Marines with the Death Guard conversion kits and stuff like that. And I have added some Death Guard, but the proportions are way too big. They look weird So what I do have, I will buy miniatures and I will paint and convert them. But I really like to have units. I have little forces. So I've been buying lots of the Underworld sets because it's like 4 or 5 miniatures. Looking up at my shelf now. I've got eight boxes. I think I haven't built a single one. I haven't finished a single one. I've got about half of them in various stages of building. I think I've finished one of the orcs from the that set. Morgoth's Crushers. I've finished one of those guys, and I've got the Skaven, the Plague Monk, the most recent Skaven Plague Monks, all lined up, ready, undercoated, built and undercoated, slightly kit bashed, and ready to go. But I haven't yet sat down and painted them. So when I can find the time, I very much enjoy painting and kit bashing.
Awesome.
Playing, not playing. Haven't played anything for quite some time though, sadly.
So you are, if I take it right, more into skirmish then, or large armies?
Only in so much as it takes me so long to paint miniatures that skirmish is realistic for me now. I mean, I love rank and file. I love the old Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Nothing like seeing a full army of units all ranked up is awesome. But I started collecting the Nighthorns because I figured I could paint them quite quickly. No. I have a unit of 10, and it took me forever.
Nice.
We share your pain.
So what I'm hearing is that our audience should not feel bad about having a pile of shame, because
no, I've got cupboards full of shame.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of miniatures up there behind me in various stages of assembly and paint. You know,
it's called the pile of possibilities, never the pile of
that's
shame.
right.
So much better.
All right. I'm gonna
bad if it's not made.
Yeah, I'm gonna pirate things a bit because my brother just asked a question in the chat. Mark, the Asmodai, the interrogator or whatever dude from the Dark Angels who was on the cover of the catalog, like the Citadel catalog, it was colored. Did you do the colors, or did someone else color your black and white sketch?
No, I painted it. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I did color. Yeah, I didn't do much color work in house for Games Workshop because so if I did color work, I would take those pieces on as sort of additional freelance commissions because they were just my plate was just full with all the black and white stuff. But occasionally I'd go, oh, I want to do a color painting. Can I? And I'd pitch my idea for a piece. Usually because those things ended up taking a really long time because you're doing them in evenings and weekends. It was never for a specific product. It was always, oh, I want to paint such and such, and they would find a use for it after I'd finished it.
Nice. Thanks. Shane, do you want to go for a real chat question?
Yes. So Vermis, who's another one of our resident artists, he asked, what was it like developing your art at GW after dropping out of art school? Was it trial and error, or was there kind of a mentorship? Was there anybody at GW that was kind of like a mentor to you, or was it somewhere in between?
I think there was nobody. I mean, obviously the influence of John Blanche sort of sits over the whole studio. And you'd often just like chat with other artists or sculptors or writers there, and people would swing by your desk and look at what you were doing. So it tended to be you'd sort of you'd improve via studio osmosis. You know, you just soak it all in and get better. And somebody would come out and point and laugh. Done maybe you painted the ground really badly on one picture, and somebody would snigger at it. You go, oh, okay, I need to fix that. But it was all very good natured and very friendly. After going from leaving art college and then spending a couple of years sort of struggling as a freelance, where you really only got yourself as a measure of how you're improving and the quality of your work, to be dropped melting pot of a studio like Games Workshop in the early 90s. Yeah, amazing.
Right on.
We all can imagine about that. Thanks.
Marco?
Yes, thanks. Next question is mine. And it's the last of mine to ask, but I'm super proud to have it. Mark, where do you draw the inspiration for your work from? What other kinds of arts? Books, music, movies? What fuels you the most?
All of the above, really. Certainly other art, movies, games. I've sort of learned that my subconscious is where stuff bubbles up from, and as long as I've filled my head with enough relevant material, eventually it'll let me know. You know, I'll go. It's sort of like I have a daily routine. I go out for walks in the morning. It's usually when I'm out there in the fresh air, something that I'd been thinking about like a week earlier will pop from the back of my brain into the front and say, oh, you know that thing you were thinking about? I have a possible solution for you. And I've learned to trust that process. But yeah, I'm a fanboy first and foremost, you know. So it's always other games, other artists, books. You know, it's tricky these days because of course, thanks to the internet, we have access to all of it. Yeah. Whereas back in the day, you had to hunt for stuff to find, and you run the risk then of comparison. You know, comparing your work to others and judging your own work harshly. So it's always a bit of a risk when you're absorbing all of it, particularly now when you don't know whether what you're looking at was made by a person or by a computer. I keep catching myself with a mid-journey all the time. Oh, look at that! It's a computer. You know, almost. A robot.
I really struggle with that because my vice is TikTok. I scroll through TikTok all the time when I'm getting into bed in the evening, and there's this one trend, at least on my For You page on TikTok, of like these galleries of like this dark fantasy artwork that looks very much like kind of inspired by like late 80s, early 90s kind of sword and sorcery. Always like, oh, this artwork's so cool, and then you realize, oh, it's more mid-journey, and it's like it's really cool, but it definitely misses that human element, and I just have a lot of. We could get into this discussion, but we're not going to.
That's a whole. I mean, honestly, that's another 2 hours. That really is.
Exactly.
You know. I recognize that technology can be our friend, can be a useful tool, but it's the thin end of the wedge. Once you start embracing it, once you start down that path, it's like an addiction. You've got to. It's dangerous. I fear for the next generation of artists coming up. Because I already know people who are struggling to find work in the video game industry because the studios are going around saying, "Oh, we just use it's cheap and it's immediate. We don't, for concept art, we don't need to employ people. We can just do that."
Concept art,
oh my
seems
god,
to be the biggest threat is for concepts, because I mean, you could throw a prompt into a generator and get 1 million things in the span of a couple hours versus but
all right. To wrap up my question, Mark, can you give us a band, a book, and a movie?
Oh, there you go.
Oh man. A book. Oh yeah, book. Currently, Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, Mike Mignola's illustrated version is my jam. I'm pouring over it. I have done. I've always loved it, and I love Mike Mignola. I love his Hellboy stuff. But what I love about Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser is that it's at the beginning of that style. So it's he's doing a lot more costume design work in it, and he's so good at that stuff. So that's my book right now. Movie. I'm gonna go Squaring the Circle, which is a documentary about Hypnosis, who were the go-to album cover design studio in the 60s and 70s. They did all the covers for Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin back in the day, and there's a documentary on Netflix about the history of that studio, and it's an amazing movie to watch for just old school wild London in the early 70s, rock and roll and photography, wildly indulgent photography. We're going to go to the Sahara Desert with a bunch of inflatable footballs to shoot this album cover thing, and it's an amazing movie to watch. Not fantasy, not sci-fi, but again, an incredibly inspiring, creative movie to watch. And then band
or album.
I'm gonna say band in general, or the last studio album from Ghost, who are a favorite band of mine at the moment. I know they're a bit contentious. A lot of people think they don't look like they sound, and I think that's fine. But I saw them live earlier in the year, and it's just one of the best shows I've ever been to. So what was the name of their last studio album? I'm gonna have to open iTunes.
That's fine.
So also Rival Sons, I'm a big fan of, and the new album Lightbringer, that's just come out. They're awesome. Music. I don't tend to listen to music as an inspiration. I used to back in the day. I would listen to movie soundtracks, and I'd pick movie soundtracks that I felt pertinent to the work I was creating. So I remember when I was drawing Beyond the Fell-Handed, the Space Wolves Dreadnought, I listened to the Terminator 2 soundtrack like on loop.
Whoa,
just that
cool.
heavy industrial clanking the whole time. And then when I was doing Dark Elves, I was listening to the Hellraiser soundtracks. Because that's all. Yeah. So I do that for a while, but it got a bit much. Yeah. So, although I will regularly put on, is it Basil Polidorus, Conan?
Yes.
The first Conan movie, just because it's fantastic. And actually, the soundtrack to the animated Lord of the Rings as well is one of my favorites as well. From 1978.
Bashiki
I love that
or whatever?
too.
Ralph Bakshi.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bakshi's. I can't remember the name of the composer right now.
Same here.
But those two albums are as soundtrack albums are kind of frequently. I listen to a lot of audiobooks as well when I'm working.
Nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm realizing that it's now 1 a.m. for our Germans. We have a few questions left in the roll, but do you guys need to drop off yet, or Simon and Marco?
No, for sure not.
Simon, you have 2 small children. What do you say?
I'm when I don't talk anymore and I fall over, you will notice. Hopefully.
Okay, Shane, I think you're next.
All right. So you mentioned before you work with Blizzard as an artist for a while. So you did this after working with Games Workshop. Was it hard to separate yourself from the design philosophy of your work with the worlds of Warhammer when you did designs for Warcraft, Diablo, and StarCraft, or did you find it helped, or somewhere in between?
I didn't find it. No, I didn't find it particularly difficult. I mean, World of Warcraft is probably the easiest shift because it's WoW is very whimsical, and the sort of level of caricature on there is the shoulder pads and weapons are even bigger than in Warhammer. We had an understanding that you don't put an 8-pointed star on anything, and you stay away from check borders, on robes and things, and you're all right. I mean, Diablo's a bit closer. I think they share it more. But I mean, but all that sort of dark fantasy tends to draw from the same well. So I think as long as you're not straying too close to something that would be considered IP infringement, I think it's perfectly. I didn't find it. Again, it all comes from the same sort of place. You all, the influences. What influences the original artists for Warhammer influences the original artists for Diablo, and it's just that sort of shared heritage.
Right.
I think, I don't think it's too much of a challenge. I mean, each game or each game world has its own iconic units or its iconic heroes, and as long as you're not copying them, I think it's fine. Yeah, right. I didn't find it too challenging. As I say, the WoW stuff was always just so playful. Even the dark stuff is kind of like it's still kind of it's meant to be fun.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to skip Flynn's question just for a second, just because this feels like an obvious continuation of this one. When working at Blizzard, what was your favorite game or universe that you worked on?
World of Warcraft. And doing doing things like. So I started working on WoW for Wrath of the Lich King. I was doing creature designs, and then I joined the team full time. For Cataclysm and Mr. Pandaria and the Worgen starting area, if you know WoW at all, was this sort of gothic romantic. The people turn into werewolves. It's a tragic kingdom. So I really enjoyed doing the sort of the design work and setting the tone, setting the mood for that. And the designers there, the guys building the levels, are always really sort of open to ideas from concept art. It was a really kind of collaborative place to work. I really enjoyed my time there.
Awesome.
So, my question. So we already know what model, based off your artwork, that Games Workshop has done is the Green Knight that you think is the best one they've done for it, compared with the artist's paint job. Are there any models or cosplays based off your artwork that the community themselves have done, which you think best match the artwork perfectly for Warhammer or for any of your work at Blizzard, Riot, or anywhere else?
I mean, I've seen a bunch of really cool cosplays for World of Warcraft stuff. Certainly for because I did a lot of the armor tier sets for players, and I've seen some fantastic interpretations of those. Oh, you realize, of course, that what you've designed is utterly impractical for an actual human to wear, because they need help. They need help navigating the hallways of BlizzCon and stuff like that, because I didn't give them big enough eye holes in the mask.
Rule of cool.
I did. I think my my most significant claim to fame for my time at Riot was I did the design for Jinx's rocket launcher, Fishbones. So anytime I see a Jinx cosplay and somebody does a really nice job on that rocket launcher, that's always really cool. Nerf are bringing that out next month. They're doing a Nerf version of that rocket launcher, and I've had my pre-order in for a year because I thought I have to have my own Nerf gun. Are you kidding me? So I'm very excited for.
I know nothing about Arcane. I know nothing about League, but I saw someone make that on Instagram, and I just loved it. I thought it was so cool, and I had to share it because it just looked so cool. And as you said, like the fish rocket launcher, I'm like, I saw that thing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of them out in the world, which is again, it's always really, really nice. When somebody puts the time and effort, because I do costume design myself, so I know how much work and time and effort you need to put into them.
Wait.
So
wait, what's your favorite? What's your best cosplay?
What do you do?
Yeah, Marco does he does aliens. He does Star Wars. He does all kinds. He's got like Mandalorian. Marco,
nice.
Go.
Yeah.
No, say more, Marco. Say more.
Of course, my most famous act is probably Emperor Palpatine, which I'm really good at portraying and making children in hospitals very uneasy. But it's not about Mark, what do you dress up as?
Well, we do I have a pirate costume, so I'm always a pirate. Half the time I do that. But in terms of making costumes, over here in Los Angeles, every year there's a thing called the Labyrinth Masquerade Ball, which is a huge costume event in downtown LA. And I think the closest thing I've done to cosplay, I do my own designs, my own character designs sometimes. But the closest thing I've done to, I guess, what cosplay is I did a Mask of the Red Death costume that I made. A few years back, which was one of those ones that took weeks and weeks and weeks to sort of build it from the ground up. So that's probably the one I'm most pleased with.
Mark,
but yeah,
you do know we need pictures.
Oh, okay. There might be. There might be pictures on that if on my Facebook. Otherwise, I'll dig some out and share them elsewhere. Yes.
So
the world has to know. The world has to know.
I was just going to say, like, you said Labyrinth. Is it based off the Labyrinth film?
It was initially. Originally it was, but it's been going for 20 years now, so it's kind of grown into.
Oh, too bad. My cosplay, I've done David Bowie, like full tights stuff.
There's always a few. There's always a few Bowies there every year for sure.
As there
guys
should be.
Guys and girls doing that. Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah.
Mark, how old are you?
Oh, easy, Marco.
It's fine.
Just turned 58 apparently.
Okay, thanks. I'm 51 right now, and I'm so super happy seeing you dig into the well of nerdiness in every aspect. I'm doing the same, but not so many people are, because when we were young, it was very different than it is today. So it's super cool to see you just doing it.
I've been in an arrested state of development since I was 16 really, and nothing really much has changed. I'm still drawing goblins for a living. I did it. I wasn't doing it for a living then, but it's like all the artwork I've got on my walls. It's the same as the posters I had when I was a kid, except now they're limited edition signed prints. It's exactly the same artwork. It's just fancy adult versions.
Damn it! If this wasn't digital, I would high five you now.
Wait, was the Mask of the Red Death the costume where you had like the horns and there's like smoke coming out of your like mask?
Oh no, that was my Hell Nun. That was one of my own creations.
Yeah, I've got that showing on the stream right now. It's from your Facebook page. Where are we at on
the Mask of the Red Death would have been a couple of years back from that.
Okay, I'll keep scrolling.
And you'll see it because it's red, obviously.
Okay.
We are at the very last question.
Okay, yeah.
We'll make it a good one.
Unless there's more chat, but
There's one.
Is it Flynn? Who is it?
It's Not me,
it's Simon.
Simon.
Yeah, before I hit that,
Yeah.
I was made aware by a Dwarfenage, and I was thinking about it as Marco asked you about your movie, band, and book. You would obviously have to add an artist to fulfill the grimdark. What was it called?
Grimdark Compendium, I think. There's an
No,
account on what?
It's called the Grimdark Film Club.
Oh,
So
okay.
there are different
Oh.
artists being asked the very question. So they propose like a movie, a book, and an artist, and an album. And I was thinking about this. So you would have to offer an artist to complete the Grimdark Film Club.
An artist who
I haven't.
inspires you.
Yeah, well, obviously the film I picked was not in of the grim dark. It was just a film that I was impressed with most recently. If I'm going to pick a grim dark film,
Or just it could be one of your like iconic kind of touch point films.
Yeah.
What the hell did I pick? I don't even remember.
Prometheus.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I picked.
Mm.
Sorry. Okay, I love Prometheus just because I think it's a beautiful film. It doesn't have to make sense. No one has to talk. It's a beautiful film, and I like the chaos of the alien, whatever it is, evolving from like this guy got infected by an alien thing, STD to his girlfriend, who birthed the kind of face hugger thing, who got on like an engineer, and then that's what created the like whatever proto xenomorph. I don't know. I think it's a cool movie. So don't take that as an example because apparently no one else likes it. But yeah, just like a cool movie that could be inspiring for like fantasy or I don't know, world creation or.
Oh man, I have to thumb through all my DVDs and stuff. I mean, trying to think some good dark fantasy stuff. A Brotherhood of the Wolf. I remember that.
Oh,
that was
so good.
That's a really stylish movie.
Such a good
I don't, you know what? I'll get off the call and then 20 movies will go. You say that
Sure.
again? The original Conan movie. Just,
Yes,
Of course,
mean,
yes.
That's a good one.
you know, they don't make them like that anymore, sadly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well,
I was at a gaming convention a couple of years back, and I've got the T-shirt with the set symbol on it, and these dudes on a stand just recited the opening monologue from Conan's Chronicler at my face. It was amazing.
Great.
nice.
Um.
Well, the question I was handed.
Oh,
I did
artist.
wanna- Oh yeah.
Sorry, I got grimdark artist Bernie Wrightson. Bernie Wrightson Frankenstein is one of my absolute all-time favorites, and his mastery of pen and ink is just is sensational.
He did Swamp Thing as well. Huh?
Yeah,
Loved it.
I mean, Rodney Matthews was, I think, the first art really inspired me growing up, just from the 1970s amazing posters that he did. But it's not, his stuff is not grim dark. It's kind of whimsical. But he brought an amazing understanding of complete and total design. Everything in his every single piece he painted, every little element had a unique flavor that was all his. And he just that level of world building was revelationary to me, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Well, the question I got left with was actually, yeah, it's the last one, right?
Well, there could be more from the chat, but yeah, it could be the last one.
Yeah. So, what kind of projects are you working on right now, if you can share?
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly, as I said earlier, and talk work I'm doing for the Rookery, that's absolutely my priority now, and it has been, for the past couple of years. And so I am wrapping up the last few illustrations for our first book, which is called Ship of Fools. It's a RPG, tabletop RPG, and we are negotiating with our publishing partner talking about how we're going to put this out there, how we're going to make this available. Are we going to do a big Kickstarter? Are we going to do some other thing? How much extra do we need in order to make it a big Kickstarter? Do we all that sort of stuff that you get to once you've got a product ready to go? How are you going to get it into people? How big a splash can you make with it? So I'm wrapping up the illustrations for that. A little bit of graphic design work, I think, probably still to do. And then we've got a few PDFs that we're going to do to support that. And I've been sketching out some crazy creature designs to go along with that kind of stuff. And then we have, as I said, we've got the second edition of Dark Deeds, which is a game I made a few years back. The second game in that series I'm working on as well. So I'm doing the art for that. I'm also doing. I did an album cover for a band of heavy metal pirates that are friends of mine, and I did the album cover for them. They're called the Dread Crew of Oddwood, and I did the album cover for them way back at the start of the year. It's taken a long time for them to sort of get the deal together and release it, and they want a T-shirt. So I'm taking the album artwork, converting it into a kick-ass T-shirt for them. That's the one aside. I know I said I don't do commissions, but I do for pirate friends. So I've got to finish the design for that. I want to do more sort of clothing design stuff for my Redbubble side, because I've got a whole bunch of shirt ideas, and that stuff's just stuff that's an aside, just a fun little palette cleanser to all the illustration stuff. So I'd like to do some more of that. I want to paint some toy soldiers over Christmas.
Awesome.
I want to finish my Skaven. I want to finish my Plague Monks. I think that might be it.
Well, that's a lot. Yeah, the best, like, we just wanted to confirm the best way for people to support your ongoing work, Mark, and it sounds like make sure they're following Rookery.
Yeah, we have a Patreon. We have a Patreon, and again, at the moment, cool. It's access to so it's inside the Rookery, and we do it. Well, all our live streams go out on YouTube and all the usual streaming services. But the Patreon, it helps us a little bit. It gives you access to the masterclasses. I'm preparing one myself now, which I've never done before. A sort of a kind of a probably do a time lapse of one of the paintings I've done for Dark Deeds. Will probably be the first one I do.
Yep.
So I'm looking to do that in the not too distant future as well, and hopefully, if that isn't a disaster, I'll do a bunch more of those. Andy Law, who is our master of all tabletop crafts, has been doing a whole bunch of these amazing cartography classes, which have been really popular and amazing to watch. So I want to kind of just throw in a few. As the other artist on the team, I certainly want to kind of contribute to that a little bit. So I'm going to hopefully do a bunch of those as well. But yeah, so again, we have a Discord server, we have a Patreon. It'd be great if people support that, or find us on YouTube and just watch a few videos. We occasionally have some. Well, we regularly have fantastic guests. We occasionally have some huge names. We had Ian Livingston on not too long ago.
Wow,
which is quite a treat. We've had Gav Thorpe on. We've had Graham McNeil on, and cool. So for Warhammer fans, there's plenty to look at.
Mark Gibbons, huh?
I turn up and say stupid things once in a while.
So, follow-up question for the Rookery publications. You're aiming just to release your own games, or do you, because publication sounds like you're becoming a publisher, like taking other people's rule sets.
Potentially, yeah. We don't. I mean, it's early days. We've talked about the idea of potentially helping other independent developers get to market. I think we'd love to. I think in the process, I think we need to get a couple of really good products out first as a proof of concept. If a designer comes to us with an idea, we want to be able to, hey, this is what we can do. So we certainly want to demonstrate that we're capable of getting our own products out before anybody trusts us with their babies. So yeah, but I would very much like down the line to be somewhere that independent developers can come and get their work out.
That would
Awesome.
be awesome because I feel like you have like a big name, and they're like, I feel like, as I said earlier, I'm interested in the indie scene as of right now, more the tabletop side, not so much the role playing side, but I feel like especially COVID has sparked so many small game sets that have
Oh,
like
for
popped
sure.
up like mushrooms everywhere,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, so yeah, having for them a home to go to, that would be great. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
So
Actually,
if you find the time and if you're interested, you might enjoy Necropolis 28. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Rings a bell, yeah.
It's a small game. It's a skirmish system where you just need 4 or 5 miniatures, and the game doesn't last long. It has a very interesting game mechanic, and the setting is like the world where everything is dead, like, or undead. Like, there are only undeads around, which is
Right.
great game. I enjoyed very much.
All right, I'll check it out.
So don't forget about Brett's Brawl Arcane.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we like there's a bunch of people in the ecosystem who we like friends with, we know about, and he created I guess Simon could explain it, but it's like a very, very small skirmish game. The board that you use is just a chessboard. You only need, what is it, 6 miniatures, Simon? Or 8 miniatures? Something like that. And
you need 4 per side.
4 per side, and it's wizards and their thralls just like randomly
Oh, nice.
bashing people and stuff like that. So
Nice.
really cool.
Yeah, I'm a big
game.
fan of games like that. You know, yeah, no, just beautiful contained, gaming experiences that you can just jump in and enjoy for an hour. You know, I like that as much as the epic campaign is also. I like the idea of little compact, fun games to play as well. I like the breadth of the range of those things.
Yeah, then you will probably enjoy both, because I think we can all agree that we have not stolen our time, as we Germans say. And yeah, the more fun, the smaller, and the faster the game is. I think that's the trend with everything, because we don't have that much time for a whole weekend of playing Warhammer Fantasy with 40,000 points anymore.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And just wanted to note, Mark, I've taken the links for your Patreon, for your MG Artworks Facebook, for all the Rookery stuff, and I've put them all in the description of this video now. And
awesome.
Yeah, so hopefully, also I've told people that they need to go and buy an MG sticker, a bunch of them, and go stick them up at Bugman's. So hopefully that happens.
Oh
soon.
my god!
I'm gonna buy some and like
I get a cease and desist.
Whatever. You didn't do it. You just printed some stickers.
No, that's true. That's true.
So
They don't know.
Marco, what's that, Marco?
Sorry, I'd go to Warhammer World in Nottingham and stick it everywhere.
Gonna go put it on the butt of the Rhino now out front.
I'm also gonna put one on this to make it official. I'm gonna take my little screamer killer that I keep on my inspiration board. I'm gonna put a MG sticker on it once I order one. Make it official.
The thing you need to do is find that assassin in that big diorama at the end of the exhibition and stick it on that bloody thing so no one can miss it.
We just have one more chat question.
Please, yes, I was going to ask, Shane. Thank you.
That kind of spins off of what Simon was asking about you guys being like a publisher, and this comes from Dwarfenage, who is one of our North American hosts on the Work in Progress Wednesdays. He asked, do you have any suggestions for people that are trying to get into creating tabletop games, or lessons learned from your endeavors in creating Rookery?
Well, I mean, get it out there, I think, seems to be the message. You know, we've taken a long time to get to this point because we had a very specific idea about what we wanted to do and a quality bar that we set for ourselves. But these days, with things like drive-through RPG, it's so easy to put content out there, and with with the internet, with the opportunity to promote your work, you don't actually need the backing of a big publisher unless you're determined to get in the game shops. So as an indie, you can absolutely make your mark and launch a business without needing to sign up with anybody. So yeah, if you've got a cool product, test it, put it out there, let people have a look at it. And there seems to be quite a healthy network of support for that sort of stuff. I think enough people have been burnt by some of the big boys that they kind of go, no, I kind of want to spend my money a little bit more selectively. I want to support. It's same with the music industry, indie music is something that's very much alive now, and there's so many people out there proving that you don't need the backing of a major corporation to get your voice, your music, your words, your pictures out there.
I think it feels like almost a contra movement towards the like the very easy put together mainstream stuff. When, for example, when you look at like Midjourney stuff, it's so easy for Midjourney to produce those very pleasable to the eye images, and then you have that indie scene that kind of goes back towards those copy and paste punk cover. When you think, for example, about Morkborg.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the very opposite of Midjourney, at least to my understanding. And I think that
sure, and like Themeborn, Escape the Dark Castle, games like that are just beautifully put together, but not, if you were a big publisher, that sort of style and that kind of approach, they're probably going, well, no, we don't. This is not the sort of look of a game we want. But it's massively successful because it's a great game and has echoes back to almost like in late 70s, early 80s cottage industry style, which I think actually speaks to a lot of people in contrast to the super polished work that you tend to see from a lot of the bigger studios.
Yeah.
Yes.
For
Awesome.
sure.
I mean,
Shane-
what a nice way to finish this stream, huh?
I feel like it. Yeah, that's kind of like a nice wrap up. Dan the
Yes.
man, go indie.
There we go. Yeah.
May I now? We have all the questions done, Jones. May I?
Yeah.
please?
Wait. Okay. Well, why don't we wrap with Mark, and then we can do like plugs or whatever that. Mark, thank you so much for taking this time. As people have captured many times over, like, you're very much a fixture of, or like a formative element of our hobby, and like your art was a formative element of our hobby, but it continues to inspire. Like, to this day, this stuff is still so friggin' good. Oh wait, I don't even have my camera on. Sorry, I didn't want to double up my camera. This stuff, you know what I got? This stuff is so, like, still on the board. It's still inspiring me. And like, so many people got into the hobby with your art, and like your art taught them what Warhammer was supposed to feel like. And also with like now in like World of Warcraft, in League of Legends, like I feel like you've got your fingerprints on a lot of huge like fantasy science fiction IPs, and it's so cool that the stuff that started with your work at Games Workshop has gone into so many areas and inspired so many people. So yeah, and I just can't believe that you made the time to talk to like small fries like us. We really
thank you so much for the kind words. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm always happy to come in and talk nerdy stuff. It's I am still that nerd. Of course I am. So yeah, it's not a problem. It's a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you a lot for coming.
Yeah, I feel like we should have another like AI chat, but I don't know if that's. Oh wait, speaking of AI, Mark, have you heard about Nightshade? They've apparently developed a thing that's gonna burn all the AI art.
Oh, is that right?
You should look it up. Look up Nightshade. Look up AI art Nightshade, like Deadly Nightshade. There's like guys at a university who are trying to find a way that you can put stuff on your art that makes the AI unable to scrape it. So it's coming.
Oh.
All right,
anyway,
cool,
that's
good.
Really
Yeah. We're in for an interesting years. I think we'll see how much of our actual real lives remains. Are we heading towards that Skynet future?
We've been in a simulation since 2012. Don't worry.
There's always that as well.
I think as long as us geezers are still kicking around, there's still going to be a market for real art that isn't made by computers, because we all love it and we love putting it out there.
I think so. And as I said earlier, with vinyl, it's kind of it it will gain its own value because it will be made by humans, and I think that then becomes a thing of great value, a long-lasting value in its own right, and everyone will ultimately, I imagine, get bored of the endless computer-generated, super slick, but still weirdly, weirdly polished stuff, and they'll long for the human touch. So I'm not utterly demoralized by what's to come. I think we're going to be all right.
Good.
I think so.
Well, Marco?
May I?
Yeah, of course.
Thanks, Mark. I had a super shitty week, and with this Friday evening in Germany, I honestly wasn't sure how all of this would run, but I feel we had a super cool energy among us, and I had a much better time than I expected to have with you, and yeah, thank you for being you.
That's
Very
that's
kind,
great.
Joe.
That's great. I'm sorry I had a shitty week, but I'm delighted that Friday night turned out all right for you.
Yeah.
Simon, did you want to closing words?
I'm just happy as a little fish in a pond.
What more can you ask for?
Mark, it's been great having you. Like a fellow Brit finally on the stream with me is brilliant. But nah, it's been brilliant to have you, and like just hearing about your experiences and everything, and just like your love for the community as well is really great to hear.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And Shane, the man of the hour, because you were the one who connected us with Mark. You got any final words, final thoughts?
Mark, it's always a pleasure. I'm sure I'll hit you up again when I get that itch to get another piece of original Mark Gibbons artwork in my collection.
There's not
Whatever's
much left,
left. Yeah.
And now you gotta
I've been
top the
thinking
card
about hitting you up
effects.
for maybe another World of Warcraft concept. So if any of that's left over, I might.
Yeah, I got loads of that left. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, just what Nick was saying. I mean, especially for me in particular. I mean, Warhammer, League of Legends, and all of those. So I can't thank you enough for coming on the stream and for all your contributions to those worlds, because they've been hugely formative for me.
Thank you so much for all your kind words. I'm quite touched. It's you beaver away often, and it's always lovely to just sort of chat. And I say nerd out with people about stuff that I still get nerdy about. I can talk about toy soldiers, miniatures, and artwork and sci-fi and fantasy all day long. It's no burden for me to come and talk to you at all.
Well, we really look forward to all the new projects you have on the horizon. I've put the links to the Rookery and to MG Artworks in the description of this stream, so make sure you go over there and you're following Mark. Make sure you're supporting him on Patreon. It's only going to cost you $2. You can sign up. I almost did it on stream, and then I realized I might dox myself. So you can join for free, and you can be a rook for $2 Canadian, which means it must be $1 US. That's like no money. So yeah, make sure to get over there. Get over there and support Mark's work. And I was about to ask if you're like thinking about doing like an art book or something like that, like John Blanche does, but I guess the Rookery books are going to be your art books. It's all your art.
Yeah, right? I mean, I think at some point once it's true. Well, going forward, we're going to bring in other artists. We're actually on a bit of an art drive to find ourselves some additional artists to kind of help with the schedule for next year. I should have mentioned that. But yeah, I'm always going to be reproducing art for it, and I think hopefully we'll get to a point where I've done enough that it warrants an art book. I hope so. That'd be great.
And if there are artists who find the stream and are interested in maybe trying to collaborate with the Rookery, what's the best way to get in contact with you? Would it be the Patreon or?
Yeah. How did we put that? Our Discord server, for sure. Or they're welcome to sort of drop me a line, and then I'll put them in touch with our kind of head office, as it were, the Rookery Towers, as we call it, and they can, because that's where they're collating all that stuff. And then I'll get to take a look at the artwork and everybody. If there's potential opportunities for collaboration, that'd be awesome.
Okay, awesome. Well, yeah, hopefully some people hit you up, and I guess we'll wrap the stream up here officially. Once again, Mark, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who joined us for this chat, out in the chat for all your questions, and thanks to all the lovely co-hosts here. I didn't know if we were going to be able to make it work with like 6 of us on here, but somehow we managed.
We've done. We're nearly at 3 hours. Look.
Yeah, sorry. It's just too much.
No, it's great. No, it's great. I just thought I need a beer. Why do I need a beer? Oh, because I've been talking for 3 hours.
Yes, yes. Thank you for giving so much time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
As I say, my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure.
Let's have the applause, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone, and we'll chat again soon.
Thanks
Bye.
so much.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Night.
Guys.
All surprise. Do you still have juice, or is it too late
For what?
to plug?
Well, it's over. What do you want to plug?
No,
now?
I haven't stopped the stream yet. I actually restarted the stream right now.
We're back.
We're back. Don't go to bed yet. Don't go to bed yet. Wait. Oh, how do I not dox myself?
Can I just say one thing very quickly?
Hold on. So we're still streaming. It's now 1:36 in the morning. Simon, do you have Steam to plug something at the very tail end of the stream here?
Maybe why not?
If you're still awake, if you're interested, I'm going to do the Solstice 28 thing again this year, and I haven't done everything. I haven't everything in order, but I try to be more professional this year, especially since apparently it's my birthday running up, and my lovely wife has thought of things to get to for my birthday, and she has rigged up people to get me a pressure pot.
Oh my god, they're buying you you posted about stuff, and I didn't know they were buying you a pressure pot. That's amazing.
That apparently is the deal. So I'm
your wife's the best.
I'm really looking forward to give my best to get them bubble free and as good as I can get. So yeah. So the basic idea is, for those who haven't seen that before, I made some icons resembling roughly Cthulhu-esque deities, and the idea is that you go to. Is the web page still on? I guess it's
it's your website. Oh wait, no, I told you we need to update the website, buddy. Remember?
No, I don't, but don't care. So eventually you'll find somewhere the Solstice 28 project where you get the information how to donate to a good cause, and depending on the amount of money you donate, you will get casts of these funky little monsters. That's the idea.
All right, your blog is still up, but the URL I was talking to you about, we needed to redo it. But we got your blog, solstice28.blogspot.com. Right now it's still the post from 2022, but that's where the information will go.
Exactly.
Awesome. And this is all for charity, right?
Exactly. So you donate money to a good cause, to an NGO I will post links to. There's enough shit going on in the world, and people need help and money and help, and I want to encourage people to donate to good causes.
Hey, do this.
Oh my great. That's perfect, because my camera is making a little red blinky light. I'm like, why is it blinking a red light? It's like, oh, it's about to die.
Not that quickly.
So what Flynn, what did you want to in the after party? Stream
it's
after
halfway
party?
through November. You have just under 2 weeks left to go. Get what you can get done.
Marco just went to do it right now. Marco is like, I'm gonna go do my November immediately.
I'll be right back. Promise.
No, you're okay. We're almost done. We're gonna end
That's
for
it.
real.
That is it for me with November. It's just enjoy it, have fun, do what you can do.
Flynn, it's really weird to see your face, man. I never see your face.
Yeah.
And watching you
I
talk,
look so
I'm like,
young.
who
it's
is
my
this
problem.
monster? Who
I
is
look
this
so
monster?
young. I'm 29, but I look like a 14-year-old.
I was reflecting on everyone here had a beard. I don't really have a beard, but like kind of I try. But like everyone else has got their big beards, and then you got
Yeah,
Flynn.
I'm not even fresh to shaving. That's the worst bit.
Well, I'm actually going on a hobby retreat starting tomorrow. I'm going up to
What?
the Poconos and got a little
Cool.
Airbnb. I've got my little hobby suitcase packed with all the essentials, and I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna work on November stuff. That's
I'm so
all I'm gonna do
jealous.
for the next 2 or
Awesome.
3 days.
That is awesome. Shane, what's your background?
My background? Oh, so this is
Yeah.
one of the Triptych 28
Oh,
artworks I got
nice.
commissioned. Well, it's like a small section of it. It's like
Beautiful.
a hive city hitting the moon, the
Cool.
bleeding moon.
I've got one last thing. We haven't said it all stream yet. Normally Diana's prompted us, but we have been
Oh,
very
shit.
busy.
Shit.
That
Well, I
is-
did say that they should subscribe so that they could chat. They could comment in the chat. But you're right. Please, Flynn.
If you have enjoyed this 100th special with our very special guest of Mark Gibson, please like the stream,
Gibbons.
share it. Gibbons. I've had too much orange tonight, and it's already nearly 1 o'clock in the morning here in the UK.
Yes,
and I don't know how you're still going up to nearly 2.
They're
Mark,
Germans. They're efficient.
Mark Gibbons. So it's for our very special guest,
Scottish
Mark
tea.
Gibbons.
I like it. Yeah.
If you've enjoyed it, drop a like. If you're watching this after the fact, put a comment below because the chat obviously won't be there. If you are feeling even better and don't want to miss anything, ring the bell and share it to your friends if you've enjoyed us.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, and if
You
you haven't,
should.
go away, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, this is cool. Like Shane, thanks for hooking us up. And like
for sure.
Flynn and Hydra and Malak, or Marco, I don't know whose names to use what. Thank you for putting in the questions, reviewing the questions, everyone being available for this time. Like, I'm really glad we did this. And anyone who stayed to the end, this isn't our last big guest. Oh, no. We've already got our claws into another one, which hopefully will still talk to us because we've been talking for a while. We need to get back to them. But yeah, this is not our last big guest. So there will be another person joining us sometime soon, and we'll start planning for that.
Yay!
Yay!
Bye-bye.
That's all for now. Thank you for staying up till 2 a.m., friends in Germany, and till 1 a.m.,
Yes,
friends
thank you.
in UK. And Shane, thank you for staying up till 7:42 p.m., man. Trooper. Like, Jesus
I'm usually in bed by now.
Okay. You got to stay up for that preview stream at 10 p.m. when we're going to
Oh
see
yeah.
stuff.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
Well,
Yeah,
that's not
I was going to stream,
what,
but I'm like,
2
fuck
hours?
it. Fuck it. Marco, I had to sleep on a steel mattress last night because my wife is sick. And I was like, it's going to be fine. And it was not fine when I woke up this morning. I think that's why I had a headache.
Oh.
Trust me. In the end, it's good for you.
Okay, I will.
And
I
now that Mark is gone, now we get into the normal, disorganized shit show.
Exactly. We got to remind people why they came.
Also, I do love the fact we passed over the little bit of Celeste content earlier.
Are we offline yet?
What?
No,
We're not. Oh wait, I'll put us offline and then we can talk some real shit. Okay. Okay. Everyone say bye.
Bye.
Okay. Outro for real this time. Outro for real. There won't be an extra party. I swear to God, it's just the outro.